Ch. 1. I was planning on publishing this fic next week, but since I love you guys, no homo, I decided to publish it much earlier. You can give your thanks to me here. Underscore 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 underscore. Calvin Booker was an old man who works as the manager of the most famous pub. At the age of 18, he registered himself in the army, fought the Nazis during World War II, and served the military for 30 years with a rank of colonel. He could have reached a much higher rank if it wasn't for an assassination attempt on him where he pretty much gets out alive, but in exchange for his left arm, which forces him to retire from the military, but then he was gifted by the government of a prosthetic arm. So, he didn't lose hope. Instead of pursuing politics like others, he built himself a pub with the help of his friends and some of his connections so he could have a stable income. During another 20 years spent managing his pub, he found himself a companion through his journey. He's a very intelligent chimpanzee which he named Caesar. He found him by chance in a forest when he is hiking, and Caesar was shot by a hunting rifle, so he brought him home and took care of him. As for why he called him intelligent, well, he now works in his pub as a waiter. In just 5 days, Caesar learned the basics of a waiter and 10 days to not make any more newbie mistakes. Some were fascinated by this, while some didn't bother coming back to his pub which he didn't care about. Calvin continued his life till his companion's death, Caesar. Inside a white room, a chimp, the size of a 10-year-old boy, was breathing heavily. Caesar. Beside Caesar was an old-looking man whose body was shaking while tears were streaming down his face. Caesar was very smart, so he knows that his friend, Calvin, was very sad to see him go. He held Calvin's hand and slowly muttered, "Thank you." Before Caesar's hand slowly dropped out of Calvin's hand along with a long beep sound that comes out of the electric vital sign monitor. The door was blasted open, stat. The room was swarmed by both doctors and nurses while a nurse guided Calvin out of the room. When he's out of the room, Calvin wiped the tears out of his face before turning around and seeing the doctor coming out and walking toward him. When the doctor reaches him, he shook his head in sadness, signifying that Caesar didn't make it. Calvin just smiled in sadness at this before thanking the doctor and leaving the hospital. It's been 5 years since Caesar's death, and now he's back to managing the pub alone. While he's alone, movies are the only thing that kept him entertained. During these years, he felt his body slowly but surely weakening. He's having a hard time breathing and moving his body. Calvin knew his time is close. But before dying, he wanted to feel someone loving him again while also inheriting his pub. So he adopted his 10-year-old daughter Ellie, who at first was afraid of him, but she slowly opened up to him. Calvin taught her how to manage the pub while he enrolled her in a school with his savings. In just 10 years, she graduated summa cum laude. Right now she's managing the pub along with her boyfriend. At first, Calvin was tempted to take out his Remington 870 and blast the hell out of her boyfriend, which he almost did when he heard the news, but Ellie stopped him in time while the boy has proven his love by putting himself in front of Ellie to protect her when he points his shotgun at him. It took the couple 5 years to get his blessings before getting married, and he became the grandfather of Ellie's son Elijah. After 5 years, he finally lost his eyesight due to old age. Calvin could already feel death lingering on him. At the same hospital where Caesar took his last breath, inside a room an old man was breathing his last breaths with his daughter Ellie, and her husband and son Elijah was beside him. Finally, he felt loved. During his hardest days, Ellie and her husband took care of his needs. And her son Elijah was crying on his deathbed. "Grandpa," said the sobbing kid who was holding the bedsheets while tears of sadness were flowing out of his eyes. "Father." Ellie was no different, her eyes were red due to her crying. Meanwhile, Calvin finally felt his last breath, but before closing his eyes and sleeping forever, he held Ellie's hand like Caesar did to him and muttered, "Thank you." Before long, Calvin's hand slipped through hers and the sound of a long beep was heard through the room, intensifying their cries. May 19, 2022, Calvin Booker died at the age of 88 as a virgin. But his story doesn't end there. When Calvin opens his eyes again, he saw huge towering people looking at him with their huge eyes. "It's a boy." A man wearing a green surgery scrub said to a lady who was huffing with sweat rolling down her forehead. "Give it to me." The lady said while the doctor heeded what she said and gave the baby boy, who looks around, confused about his surrounding, not even an ounce of cry. Is there something wrong with my baby? Why isn't he crying like the one in the movies?" The lady said while holding her baby gently as a mother should. The doctor was also confused, so he grabbed his stethoscope and listens to the baby's heartbeats. Ba dum. Ba dum. Ba dum. He seems to be alive, but doesn't cry. The doctor muttered before signaling an emergency situation and alerting the nearby nurses. Grab me my. Soon they started working immediately until. Awa. The baby cried, making most of them sigh in relief. They passed the baby back to his mother, while the mother cooed the baby. Then the door was blasted open and a middle-aged man came inside shouting, "Is it a boy?" A red aura glowed around the lady while she stared at the middle-aged man. "Shut up," she said, making the man shiver in fear. Ma, no need to be mad, darling, I was just checking if it is a boy or not," the man said while sweats are rolling down his forehead. The mother ignored him and continued cooing the baby who was about to fall asleep. Underscore 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 underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters, and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to a 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 35 comments 0 vote. Ch. 2. When Calvin woke up, he saw a ceiling with a baby mobile with birds attached to its strings. Where am I? Calvin thought before remembering his experience earlier. Giants. He shouted in shock, but what came out was baby cries. Slam. The door was opened and a beautiful lady went inside and carried Calvin in her arms. SSSHHH, mommy's here. She cooed while the earlier man entered with a bruise on his nose. He was just about to cuddle his wife when Calvin cried. Then his wife pushed him out, slamming his nose on the floor. Poor man. Daddy's here, the man cheerfully said while making some funny poses. So they're not giants, huh? Calvin thought in his mind, if his guess is right, then he must have been reincarnated as a baby. At first, he thought he went back in time, but he could see that his father doesn't resemble his father in his past life, while the same for his mother. In Calvin's last life, his mother died of disease while his father died in war, making him an orphan. Now that he's alive again, and this time he has parents to lean on if ever he has any problems in life. He wanted to protect them, but he can't for now, he's just a baby. So he still has to wait to grow up, if he wanted to protect his loved ones. While these thoughts were running through his head, his mother finally noticed that Calvin stopped crying, so she cooed for the last time before bringing him back to his crib. Once they left his room, Calvin slowly fell asleep. -8 years later. It has been 8 years since his rebirth. There are many things that he discovered. First of all, he's strong as hell for a baby. Why? Well, in his first month here in this world, his mother brought him outside, and it also exposed him to the sun. And when they went back, he started crawling like a bug. At first, he tried to hide it cause he knows that once the government heard of what he did, he is sure that they'll take him to a lab. But alas, it seems like fate was against him. His parents knew about it, and then he knew why there is a fucking camera in his room. But instead of being shocked, they just shrugged it off by saying that I have a future to be a hunter. Hunter. What's that? I mentally asked this myself. Since then, I started crawling around the house. My parents even bought an edge protector and placed it around the house. And then 8 years have passed and now I'm walking around our garden. One thing is, my family is fucking rich, like very rich. And I'm also Japanese, and this world has something supernatural called gates, where monsters of different races reside, while hunters with different ranks that determine their strengths are humans who awaken different powers or mana and use them to protect their fellow humans from the monsters. Both my parents used to be hunters, but they retired and achieved success through business and politics. My father was a politician while my mother is a CEO of a pharmaceutical company. With a politician dad and a CEO mom, many people were jealous of my position. During these years, I discovered that the sun was making me stronger like Superman, my favorite hero. Super strength, super speed, X-ray vision, and even cold breath, though I can't seem to fly like Superman. That'll be the problem of the future me. Oh, and by the way, my name is not Calvin anymore, instead it is Akano Kenji. Right now I'm walking around the garden while the sunlight was nourishing my body, making it stronger and more durable. I'm currently waiting for my tutor who will teach me in every subject. A maid went inside the backyard and informed him, "Young master, your tutor Tawatashina is here." I nodded at her and she just bowed in respect. So I went inside and saw her sitting there with books on her side. Once I went in, I greeted her as usual, "Good morning, Shina-sensei." She responds in return, "Good morning to you too, Kenji-san. Let us start with a math lesson." God, I hate math. I rolled my eyes but still decided to study diligently for my parents. A few hours later, my parents arrived back home and greeted me and my sensei. Good evening Shina-san. My mother Akano Hana greeted her as she walked toward me and pinched my cheeks while she continued, and good evening to my baby. Ouch. Welcome back Muam and Chad, I said while mom is still pinching my cheeks, which is the reason why I can't properly pronounce a word. It seems my little boy is studying very hard. My dad, Akano Chikashi said while ruffling my hair. Sensei stood up and greeted the both of them, welcome back Chikashi-san, Hana-san. I told you, no need for formalities, you could just call us by our names you know. Hana pouted. I'll keep it in mind. She bowed her head. Anyway, you should invite your daughter, Kanae here tomorrow, it's Kenji-chan's birthday. She said while hugging me tightly in her bosom. Hi. She nodded. Then, please excuse me, I'll be going now. She bowed. My parents nodded and she left while a maid called us and said that the dinner is ready. Tomorrow morning. Inside a room, full of toys, a child was sleeping peacefully when suddenly the door was opened. Happy birthday, Ken-chan. His mother, Hana shouted while blowing a birthday trumpet. Waking up groggily, Kenji rubbed his eyes and saw his mother and father along with the maids and butlers was inside his room. When he heard what his mother said, he smiled happily and thanked them. In his past life, he never celebrated his birthday due to his father being always in war while his mother was sick. So seeing his new parents celebrating his birthday makes his heart very warm. With that, they went outside his room to continue celebrating his birthday. A few minutes later, his sensei Shina along with her daughter, Tawata Kanae. When Kenji first saw her, nothing happens. What? Do you think he's some kind of a pedophile that lusts for a 5-year-old kid? Well then think again, even if he's a virgin in his past life, he still has his morals. So he did what a normal kid should, he walked up to her and greeted her, hello there, my name is Akano Kenji, what's yours? He held out his hand for a handshake. My name is Kanae. She answered while hiding behind her mother. Well then, nice to meet you, I hope we could be friends. Kenji smiles which seems to ease Kanae a bit. Meanwhile, on the back, his father nudged his wife Hana and whispered, I won. While Hana just rolled her eyes at her husband's antics. Underscore 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 underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com/SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to a 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 18 comments 0 vote. Ch. 3. Many visitors attended his birthday party, from his parents' friends to politicians. He also met many hunters who worked under his mom. While some politicians introduced their daughters to me which, to be honest, I'm not interested in and a bit uncomfortable due to me being 93 years old mentally and having some children being offered to me just for connections. It seems like my father noticed my suffering, so he excused me and distracted them by having a chat. While I went to where Kanae is and saw her still beside her mother clutching her skirt while chewing something in her mouth. I went to her and started to chat. Unlike some snobby brats that were introduced to me earlier, Kanae was different. She's far more collected and more behaved than those rich kids, which to be honest makes me comfortable. Do you like the party? I asked her, while her mother patted her head and left her to me. She just nodded her head and kept her head down. How can I keep a child entertained? I mentally thought it's not like she'll enjoy me talking about my deeds during World War II, right? Want to hear a story? I break off the silence by talking to her. She nodded in confirmation, then I continued, then, let me tell you the story of the Beauty and the Beast. Then for a few minutes, I told her the story of the Beauty and the Beast. Once I'm done telling her the story, I noticed that unlike other people when they're telling some stories they stopped and went to drink some water to replenish their I don't know saliva. Anyways, the same can't be said of me, even after speaking for 10 minutes straight I don't feel the need for water, maybe because I have the same physique as Superman. Kanae Pav. I'm so nervous about attending this party, my mother insisted that I attend her student's birthday party. At first, I was against it, but when I learned that my mother's student was the cutest kid in Japan, and also my secret crush. It started last month when I watched the TV with mom. On the TV I saw him, he was being introduced as the cutest kid in Japan, and lastly, youngest awakened. It was like love at first sight for her. His eyes, his smile, his appearance, they're all perfect. So when she heard that they will be attending his birthday party, she was very excited that she can't even sleep that night. So the next day, she urged her mother to hurry up so they could go to the party earlier. When they went inside, her eyes frantically searched around and she saw him walking towards her. What am I supposed to say? Hi. You look good. Happy birthday. That's right. Mom said that first impression is very important. But when I was about to congratulate him on a happy birthday. Hello there, my name is Akano Kenji, what's yours? When I heard his voice, I froze but soon I overcome it and relied on, my name is Kanae. Wah. I stuttered, Kanae you idiot. First impressions are very important. When I looked at him, I saw him smiling at me before his parents called him to welcome the guests. Will he hate me now? What if he doesn't want a girl who stuttered during their first meeting? Ha! Third Pav. When Sheena heard her daughter sigh, she smiled at this. As a mother she knew what was going on inside her head. She just patted her head and went towards the table, while her daughter just clutched on her skirt and followed her while looking around frantically. She didn't even know anyone here except for Kenji and his parents. She just grabbed a mouthful of cake and ate it while giving the daughter chocolate that she found on the table before whispering to her ear, make sure you brush your teeth later. She nodded before tasting the chocolate with a blissful face, she just lightly chuckled at this. Before long, Kenji arrived and took the initiative to chat with Kanae so Sheena just patted her head and left so her daughter and Kenji could have some private chat. Kanae Pav. Beauty and the Beast. What a wonderful story. But too bad I was so mesmerized by his face that I didn't hear his story. I could just imagine a gate opening here at this party and then I will be saved by him from a monster who is about to attack me like a night mom used to read for me during bedtime. How was it? He asks, breaking me off of my fantasies. I like you. I unconsciously said before freezing up and looking at his expression. Like me. Kenji was confused. I mean I like the story, I said while a blush crept up to my cheeks. I see. That's good to hear. Kenji nodded while I sighed in relief. That was close. Third Pav. Kenji and Kanae continued having a chat, though some snotty brat disturbs us sometimes. In the end, both Kenji and Kanae became friends thanks to this party. Goodbye. Let us see each other soon. Kenji said to Kanae who was just about to leave with her mother. Kanae cutely nodded. Kenji smiled at this and soon they left along with the guests leaving only Kenji, his parents, and the maids who were responsible for cleaning up. Kenji turned around and hugged both of his parents and said, thank you. Small words but they contained deep feelings coming from the said speaker. His mother, Hana, smiled before hugging him while the same can be said for his father, Chikashi, so he hugged both mother and son. The maids in the background kept silent to not disturb the touching moment of the family. Once they were done hugging each other they proceeded to open his gifts. The first one was from his father who gifted him a necklace that will shine a bright blue light and produce a blue transparent shield around him once it detects malice directed at Kenji. The said shield can withstand a full-powered attack of an A-rank monster. Once he hugged and thanked his dad, he then opened the gift from his mom. Inside the box was a paper that read about him being enrolled in a school. He jumped around and hugged his mother and gave her a bunch of kisses before thanking her. You see, Kenji was dying to attend school, not for education but to bring back the childhood he didn't have back in his past life. Because of his parents' early death, he was forced to live in an orphanage and work around the orphanage, and once he was old enough he enlists in the army. So he was uneducated and didn't even know multiplication in his past life. He wanted to have friends like other kids, he wanted to study properly along with children, he was longing for this. And now the chance is in front of him. You will be studying in the same school as Kanae and we should go and sleep now, tomorrow will be your first day in school. His mother informed him, and he nodded. He didn't know what school he was enrolled in, as long as he could experience the life of a kid then it doesn't matter. Soon it was already dark and the Akano family slept peacefully in their peaceful home. Underscore 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 underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com SlimeSage don't forget to change it to A. 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 20 comments 0 vote. Pissed. Download the app for additional rewards. More events, more perks. Winning you more free perks. Download now. SlimeSage. Download app now. ch. 4. Some of you guys must be confused. I read a comment that said about Gates being released 10 years ago, and then I realized my mistake, so I'll make this world an O. The Gates appeared 30 years later instead of 10 like in the original. Thank you to FBI_6938 for pointing it out. Underscore 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 underscore. In the morning, Kenji woke up early to brush his teeth and went to the dining hall to eat breakfast. Good morning, Mom, Dad. Kenji greeted them before sitting on his favorite chair as usual. Good morning, Ken-chan. As always, his mother was the first to greet him back while pinching his cheeks, turning them red. Seriously, what with these moms and their unrivaled strength when it comes to their children? Just to tell you, he is super durable. How can she even make his cheeks red just by pinching? Good morning, kiddo. His father said before taking a bite of his sandwich while reading a newspaper. Once he sat, he took a bite of his breakfast before eating graciously. After eating, his mother informed him, take a shower and get ready, today is your big day. He nodded and tiptoed upstairs. Before taking a shower, he wanted to test his strength again. So he went to the gym first and lifted a barrel weighing 2 tons. He easily lifted it before muttering, as easy as always. Then he proceeded to 3 tons and the same happened, he lifted it as easy as hell. He continued doing this before feeling a strain when it comes to 30 tons. With this, he could already lift a Kawasaki C2 plane, and it'll increase more as he exposes himself to the sun. After that, he continued testing his limits. His speed was very fast, he could easily dodge bullets. His durability is very tough to crack. Though there is a small problem. Magic is very effective to him as Superman, this is the only problem he needs to solve first. His cold breath is chilly as always. X-ray vision is the same as always. Heat vision is super hot, it could slice through tungsten, titanium, alloy steel, and many more. He tried flying but he can't seem to do it no matter what he do. He'll also focus on this, he needs to fly. He wants to fly. Like a bird. He'll resume his training later, but first, he needs to shower and get ready, he's almost late on his first day of school. Using his speed, he arrived at the bathroom in a second, then he took a bath. After wearing his uniform, he used his speed again and appeared in the dining hall and saw his parents who were just about to finish their breakfast. He doesn't care anymore if the world knows his power at a young age. What's the use of having such strength if you are just scared of people knowing it? I'm done. Kenji said. Wow. That was fast. His mom said before walking toward me and pinching my cheeks again. Let's go. His father said before calling their driver. Once done, they all sat in the backseat of a limousine and told the driver to take off. While inside the limo, his mother was establishing rules. First of all, no bullying. That is bad. Second, always remember to call mommy okay. Third, listen to your teachers okay. But his father cut her off and said, if someone dares to bully you, beat the shit out of him. His father grinned but that was soon wiped off when a glowing red fist smacked him in the back of his head. Stop teaching our son some nonsense and mind your language. His mom said before raising her fist and barraging his father with her punches. Muda. 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 Her eyes glowed red and continuously punched his father who was using magic to defend himself. Meanwhile, I just sweated at this and said, Mom, can you please stop? We're already here in my school. And then she stopped and her earlier, demon, face like what his father used to call it turned into a happy face. Of course, Ken-chan. Then she, barraged, me with her kisses before saying farewell. Oh, did I perhaps forget to tell you? Mom used to be an S-rank hunter who was known for her strength while her dad was an A-rank hunter who specialized in barriers and healing. Truly a magnificent couple. Suddenly, a realization hit him like a tidal wave. No wonder mom could pinch my cheeks till it hurts even with my incredible durability. Kenji thought but he put this all aside and said his farewells before getting out of the limo. When he is out, he saw students looking at him like an animal in a zoo. Is he the youngest awakened? He is so cute. I want to hug him. Mommy, why are you saying that? Am I not cute enough for you? No. Walking towards the school he could hear everyone's voices like a yell even if they are whispering, super hearing for the win. Though he felt bad for the kid who was said not cute enough by her mother. Kenji. He heard someone from the crowds whisper his name, so he walked the crowds who gave way for him. When the crowds gave way, he saw Kanae bumping the tip of her index finger against each other while looking down in a blush. Kanae. He called out to her. Wah. Ah, Kenji-kun, mom said I should guide you around the school. Kanae cutely said. Well, thank you then. Let's go. He held her hand before walking away from the crowd. He's holding my hand. Kanae was blushing while trying to hide her face. When Kenji saw this, Jesus Christ, what's wrong with kids nowadays? Before he shrugged and they toured around the school before they went to their classroom. Good morning everyone. Kenji greeted. Good morning. The rest of the class greeted back. Where's your seat, Kanae? Kenji asks. Kanae then pointed out, and when he looked at where she points he was a bit shocked. So he walked towards her seat and saw scribbles and scrunched papers around it. There were words written on it that said, cheater. Cheater goes to hell. And many more words that are similar to a cheater. He just raised an eyebrow. Really, what's with kids nowadays? He then sighed. But Kanae mistook his sigh for a different thing. Oh no. He must have thought that I was cheating and maybe he doesn't want to be friends with me anymore. Kanae felt tears fall on her cheeks while trying to clear the misunderstanding. I didn't see cheat. Kanae tried, she tried, but tears were already streaming down her face. But suddenly, as if she was enveloped by a warm blanket. When she raised her face she saw Kenji hugging her while patting her head, making her feel bliss. Meanwhile, Kenji just sighed. He could see the students looking away as if they are guilty. When he notices Kanae trying to defend herself while crying, she reminds him of his daughter, Ellie, who was accused of cheating in her school but was trying to defend herself while crying too. That day, he investigated the matter, and what he got was that a rich boy confessed to Ellie but was rejected by her. The rich boy then used his family's influence and connections so Ellie will be accused of cheating, then he will come by her side and comfort her, and then she'll slowly fell in love with him. So he called his friends in the military who were now politicians or someone who has a big influence. The next day, the boy's parents were on their knees begging him. Back to the present, he knew that she is not lying, he could hear her heartbeat thanks to super hearing. So he hugged her and whispered, who? Underscore 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 underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters, and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to A. 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 21 comments 0 vote. Ch. 5. Flashback. It was Kanae's first day of school. She wanna meet new friends, new teachers, and even the janitors. On the first day, many talked to her, the teachers seems to like her, she got many friends, and at home, she tell her mom about this. Her mom was of course very happy for her daughter to have new fresh friends. So on the second day, the same friends talked to her about many different things like favorite food, favorite color, and who's your crush. It was all fun. In the first month she was popular in her class due to her perfect grades while the teachers were very proud of her, but it all came crashing down when they asked her secret about having good grades. What she said at that time was, my mom is a teacher, she is teaching me at home. And they all quieted down. At first, she was confused about this, and the next day, her usual friends didn't talk to her all day, and her teachers seems to become strict with her. She was confused about all this, why are they avoiding her like a plague? She smelled herself, and there doesn't seem to be something wrong. She checked her face in the mirror in the bathroom and she looked fine. When she tried to talk to her friends they just waved her away. She is sad. Really? She was just a kid, why must they be cruel to her? Did she perhaps do something wrong? Or maybe this is just their prank on her and all will return to normal the next day. Oh, how wrong she was. The next day, she saw her books under her chair were destroyed, there are some scrunched paper, and doodles all over the pages. What's this? She looked around to see who did this and saw her friends laughing at her while the rest of the class was whispering with each other and she could clearly hear them. I heard that she cheated. Yeah, I heard that her mother was the one doing her assignments at home, so that's why her grades are high. Even the teachers are agreeing, it seems like it is true. HMPF, she deserves it. Tears welled up in her eyes which caused her to run out of the classroom and run to the bathroom and hid in the stall. She was crying, it hurts her. So that day she went home with her mother while she is asking about her puffy eyes due to crying. She just gave her a reason so she'll not be suspicious. She wanted to tell her mother about this, but she was afraid that even she will accuse her of cheating. So she hid it in her heart and endured the bullying in school. Since then, the bullying continued for a whole month until she met Kenji at his birthday party. Flashback ends. On the school rooftop, Kenji and Kanae were eating their lunch while Kanae was narrating what happened. I see. Kanae lowered her head, afraid that she'll lose her only friend in this world. I believe you. When she heard these words, she looked up and saw Kenji smiling warmly at her. She felt warm inside, it was like a fluffy feeling, she wants to feel this more often. When she noticed that she has been staring at Kenji for a long time, she blushed and lowered her head again, then she muttered, Thank you. But, I suggest telling your mother about this, Kenji said while taking a bite of his sandwich. She raised her head and said, but what if she didn't believe me, what if she will also do the same as others and hurt me? Tears were welling up in her eyes. Jesus Christ, what a cry-baby. Kenji mentally rolled his eyes and said, Trust me, I know Shina-sensei more than you, she will believe you as I believe you, after all she is your family and family always leans on each other whenever they are in their bad times. He smiled warmly. She thinks about it for a few seconds before nodding her head. Kenji is right, her mom will believe in her, after all, she is her mom. She raised her head again and this time with a determination plastered on her face, you are right. I'll tell her later. That day, both went home, but this day, Kanae didn't encounter any more bullies. They went home, each had a mission on their mind. Kanae's mission was to tell her mother the truth, while Kenji's was to use his family connections and shut down the school while bringing justice to Kanae, punishing the perpetrators. At home, Kenji was telling both of his parents about what is happening to Kanae. I knew I should have investigated that school first, don't worry son, I'll bring you good news soon. His father Chikashi said before calling someone on his phone. Meanwhile, his mother Hana was pinching his cheeks once again while also saying, my son is a hero. He can't stand injustice like a true hero. Kenji just smiled awkwardly at this while also wondering about what happened to Kanae. Tawada household. Inside the house, Shina was hugging her crying daughter while speaking, you should have told me this sooner, no matter what mommy would always believe in you okay. From now on if you have problems with your school tell me immediately. Shina said with a sharp tone, but this was not for Kanae, it was for the students and the teachers who made her daughter suffer. Don't worry mom, Kenji said that he'll take care of it, just wait for the news tomorrow, Kanae said while Shina was just looking at her daughter flabbergasted. I must thank Kenji properly after this. Shina said in her mind before readying their dinner while the same can be said to the Akano family. The next day, there is some big news going on around Japan. Breaking news. 5 Japanese man was arrested this morning due to illegal drugs, blackmailing, and child abuse. The lady reporter's face was very angry at this moment. 5 Japanese man was arrested this morning due to illegal drugs, blackmailing, and child abuse. The lady reporter's face was very angry at this moment. It was identified that the 4 of them were teachers, teaching at Shuian High School, one of Japan's prestigious schools, while the last one was identified as the principal of the said school. Breaking news. 20 families lost their jobs and no one wanted to hire them anymore at the same time. What could be the cause of this incident? Breaking news. A gate was discovered inside the. When Kenji watched this news, he looked at his father who was very smug at the moment. Kenji just deadpanned and stared at his father whose smug face was like, praise me. Meanwhile, the same can be said for the Tawada household. Both Tawada's mother and daughter were staring at the news with shocked faces. That's my teachers. Kanae shouted. Shina just stared at this with a shocked expression. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com/SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to ch. 6. The next day, Kanae was just staring at Kenji after arriving at school. What's wrong? Kenji asks while taking a small bite of his bacon sandwich. Kanae stared at me for a few seconds before opening her mouth. Did you do it? She asks. Since I know what she was talking about, I nodded and said, didn't I say it yesterday? That I'll take care of it. She stared at me again before muttering, thank you. Then took a bite of her egg sandwich. It was then Kenji's turn to stare at her, which she asks a few seconds later, what? He then stared at her egg sandwich and said, "You like egg sandwiches?" She nodded. "Bacon tastes better," Kenji said before taking another bite off his bacon sandwich. Kanae pouts and said, "Egg sandwich is better." While Kenji countered her. Bacon. Egg. Bacon. Egg. They bickered about each other's tastes before the bell rang. Bacon contains some essential micronutrients, including potassium, which supports bone health, heart health, muscle strength and prevents high blood pressure. You can also find over 50% of the RDA of two essential minerals in bacon. Selenium and phosphorus. Kenji said. What? Kanae's mind was confused about what Kenji just said. Never mind, oh the bell rung. Let's go back. Kenji said before running back down the stairs. Wah. Wait for me Kenji. Kanae immediately runs after him. So for the whole day, no one bullied Kanae anymore, no one destroys her books anymore, and no teacher harasses her anymore. For Kanae who has been suffering bully for a whole month, this gave her a sense of freedom and happiness, and when he looked at Kenji who was the one who saved her from the darkness, the same fluffy feeling washed upon her. Thank you, Kenji-kun. Kanae secretly said in her mind. 5 years later. Many things happened around Kenji. During these years, Kenji's strength has increased tremendously. If before he could only lift 30 tons before feeling a strain, then this time he could lift 100 tons before feeling a strain. Because of this, his parents were left with no choice but to register him as a hunter, making him the youngest hunter ever. But he was not given a rank yet due to his growing strength, and mana, they just suspect that it'll stop growing after reaching his prime, and then they'll rank him. Oh, how wrong they are. Because of this, he was once again all over the news, attracting many countries who wants to recruit him to their country but was being forced back due to his family's huge influence, leaving them no choice but to leave him be. That's not the only thing that improved, his relationship with Kanae also improved, and now they are much closer to each other. Sometimes, she came to visit his house whenever she has time. They played, they chat and did many more things that children will always do. Currently, both Kenji and Kanae are inside his room playing HVM, a version of Plants vs. Zombies in this world. It's just like the PvZ version, but zombies were replaced by monsters from the gates and the plants were replaced by famous hunters around the world. A few minutes later after playing, they both got bored and lay on the bed. It's so boring. Kanae said while waving her arms up in the air. Well, it's our vacation, maybe I should ask my parents to take us to Disneyland, Kenji replied. Okay. Let's go. Kanae shouted before jumping off the bed and dragging Kenji out of the room. Mom. Dad. Let's go to Disneyland. Kanae told Kenji's parents, yup, ever since she has been visiting here, she's been calling Kenji's parents mom and dad. And his parents gladly accepted it, while Kanae's mom Sheena also doesn't mind. Yeah, sure let's go. His dad said before calling the driver while also inviting Sheena. Meanwhile, his mother Hannah who was just out of the bathroom heard this and decided to change into formal clothes. Later, they're all inside the limo chatting with each other. I heard Go Gun-hee from Korea just cleared an A-ranked gate this morning. Sheena was having a chat with Kenji's parents. Yeah, the man is in his 60s but still kicking monsters' asses, Chikashi said while sipping on his wine. Yeah, I still remember when we first met, that old man can go toe-to-toe with my punches, Hannah added. How about that Thomas Andre? I heard he just got promoted to S rank yesterday. Hannah continued. Thomas Andre. Yeah, I still remember the tough guy. Chikashi said before refilling his wine. Meanwhile, Kenji was taking note of these names. After all, he wanted to test his strength and there is no one better than the famous S-rank hunters. Of course, he is listening to them even without his super hearing. He wondered what his rank is going to be. After all, he is Superman, a god amongst men. Since S rank is the highest rank currently, then he should be beyond that, right? Before long, they finally arrived at their location. When they went outside the car, the sunlight hit him directly all over his body, making him feel his increasing strength. Soon they went inside Disneyland and had fun riding some rides, chilling, and many more. Let's ride that one. Kanae said while pointing at the huge Ferris wheel towering over everything. So they went for the ride, but Hannah and Chikashi wanted to be alone in the Ferris for something Kenji don't care about. But isn't this restricted for only adults? I don't think they will allow Kanae and Kenji to ride this, Sheena said. You're right, well sorry pal, you're not yet aloe. When Chikashi was just about to refuse, he saw Kanae's pleading face. Fine. Chikashi gave up, shocking Sheena. Bu. Don't worry, we have our ways, Chikashi said while grinning. But it seems like Sheena is still against this. Putting children on a dangerous ride is a no-no for her. Then, I'll be joining Kanae and Kenji during their ride to protect them in case something goes wrong, Sheena said, to which everyone agreed. Underscore underscore. When the three of them were already inside, they all just chatted normally. But Sheena was acting weirdly, with her eyes frantically looking around while her hands were holding onto her seat. When she suddenly looked down at the window, her eyes rolled up and she slowly lost consciousness. Kenji just smiled weirdly at this. What happened to your protecting us in case of danger, huh? Kenji shakes his head at this and looked at Kanae, who was looking outside the window with her cute eyes. Kenji smiled warmly at this, and then he saw Kanae turning around and looking at him. Will you also leave me? Kenji was confused about this, so she asks, what do you mean? She answered, because dad left me and my mom. When she answered, there were tears in her eyes, and a sad expression is plastered on her face. Did he perhaps say that he'll buy some milk? Kenji asks. How did you know? Kane was shocked for a bit, then she nodded. Figures, Kenji muttered before looking at Kanae with warm eyes. I'll never leave you. Slowly tears fell from Kanae's eyes before tilting her head and saying, Kenji, thank you. Before long she felt sleepy and slept at Kenji's shoulders. Kenji's expression was deadpan while muttering, really? Am I the adult here? Underscore 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 underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters, and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to A. 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 21 comments 0 vote. Ch. 7. After the boring ride on the Ferris wheel, of course, they wake the mother and daughter duo first before proceeding on looking for the next ride. During their search, Kenji could hear Sheena muttering to herself, I'm such a useless adult, I let a child look over me instead of me looking over them. He just patted her back, but instead of comforting her, it intensifies her muttering. While they were walking around, Kya. Which caused them shock and look at each other. Chikashi was the first one to move and said, you guys stay here. He then nodded at Hana and they both called their bodyguards to escort their children and Sheena before running off to the scream. When they were both running, they could see many people running the opposite of them, which means somewhere in the scream earlier something bad is happening right there, so they hasten up. When they reached the source, they saw a massive gate with spider monsters coming out of the gate while dead bodies were scattered everywhere in the park. Dear. Hana called out and Chikashi nodded and searched for a survivor while Hana ran towards the spider monsters, and when she is close, she stomped her left foot forward, her back going downwards, which forces her right arm with a closed fist to speed forward. Fwoosh. Huge amounts of air waves were cast out due to the strong impact of her punch, which caused the half of the monsters to fly back, dead. Meanwhile, Chikashi found at least 5 survivors and now he is healing them while waiting for the hunters to arrive. Back to Hana, she was fighting all the monsters with her fist while dodging some of them. Dodge, punch, kick, elbow, and repeat, monsters upon monsters were flying everywhere like a leaf in the wind. When she was about to be cornered, she punched the ground with her full force, causing a 10-meter radius huge crater on the ground while the monsters were flying back at full speed, giving Hana a space to breathe. Suddenly, a spider spitted out a venom behind her very fast, and before she could react, a barrier formed behind her which blocked the venom, saving her. When she looked back, she saw her husband, Chikashi, with a glowing orange eye and hand just like in the old days, when she fell in love with him due to his braveness in saving her from a boss. Meanwhile, a spider sneaked behind Chikashi and was about to attack him when suddenly, a blur appeared and smacked the hell out of the arachnid. It revealed Hana with glowing red eyes and aura while smiling at him, which caused Chikashi to smile back. He was also saved by her back in their days. Then they both nodded at each other and faced their front with their back against each other. Looking around, they were surrounded by the arachnids, some big, while some small, and some were even as big as a truck. They both dashed forward and attacked every monster surrounding them. Meanwhile, Sheena, Kanae, and Kenji were both running away with the bodyguards protecting them from the front and behind when suddenly, an arachnid as big as a car appeared and attacked everyone behind while countless small spiders appeared in the front cornering them all. But waves of flame appeared and swallow every small spider. And when they looked the source, they saw a man with a huge build with a gray beard and hair, warmly looking at them. Meanwhile, Sheena, who was shocked, finally looked at their savior with a grateful expression. Hello, there little ones, what are you both doing here? The man asks, to which Kenji answered first. We were just walking around, sir. I see, then where are your parents? The man asks again. They're back there fighting these monsters. What is your name, sir? Kenji asks, to him this guy looks very familiar like he's seen him somewhere. The man smiled and said, Iroh, my name is Iroh, but you little ones can call me uncle. Underscore 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 underscore. Back at the source of the gate, both Chikashi and Hana were both being cornered by the arachnids. Damn. Where the hell are the hunters? Chikashi yelled in anger, both he and his wife has been fighting for an hour and the reinforcements haven't arrived yet. Then suddenly a sea of flames consumed the left side of the monsters, making big of them sigh in relief that the reinforcements have arrived, but when they look at the one who caused it, they were shocked when they saw him there and behind him are his son Kenji, Kanae and Shina. What are you doing here? Hana was the first one to speak in this silence. We're here to save you, Mom. Kenji replied. Chikashi just shakes his head on this, they already knew his strength but that doesn't mean they'll not worry about him, especially since he has Kanae by his side. Suddenly, a spider as huge as a car sneaked behind Kanae and was about to attack her when red-hot beams sliced through its body. When they looked at the source they saw Kenji with an angry expression while his eyes were glowing in dark red. Kenji-kun. Kanae was fearful when she was almost at death's door when suddenly her childhood crush saved her like a knight in shining armor, making her crush him more. Kenji just sighed before the dark red light on his eyes died down a little bit, and when he turned around he saw more arachnids coming out of the gate. There's more, Kenji whispered, but everyone could hear it clearly, making them all turn at the gate. The first one to attack was surprisingly Kenji, who disappeared and appeared in front of a spider who was late to react before being punched into bits, waking them up except for Kanae, who he turned around before dashing at the monster earlier. As if a signal, Iroh, Chikashi, and Hana attacked while Shina just defended her daughter just in case. Kenji was rampaging. With his freeze breath, countless spiders got frozen before shattering into pieces. Punching spiders in one hit was easy for him, sometimes his eyes glowed dark red and got beams sliced through them, even the structures behind were not spared, good thing the civilians were already evacuated by nearby patrol polices. Unknown to them, a Japanese blogger was recording them live all this time. No to NTR, damn, I didn't think we'd see the shaman, Akano Chikashi and the Boulder Fist, Akano Hana fight again after their retirement, and is that their son, the famous, youngest awakened, Akano Kenji. Noob Master 69, damn right they are, especially their son, he looks so cool when he saved that girl. Small PP, a family of hunters, huh. This is the first time I've seen someone have 3 awakens in one family. Vampire lover, maybe they're the descendants of a god. Lala, shut up, at vampire lover gods don't exist. Change my mind. Hot beverage. God, don't make me come down there, you punk. Lala. A few minutes later, the hunters finally arrived, and when they saw mountains of spider corpses with a 14-year-old looking kid sitting atop the corpses while looking at them, his clothes dyed in red while his glowing dark red eyes were staring at them, making them shudder in fear. Underscore 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 underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters, and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com/SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to A. 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 14 comments 0 vote. Ch. 8. The next day, the Akano family was all over the news in Japan. Reporter, today, we shall discuss the hottest topic that has been circulating the whole of Japan this week. Reporter, last week, a dungeon outbreak occurs in Disneyland, California, where spider-like monsters wreak havoc inside the park. The good news is, the famous duo, Shaman, and Boulderfist, were having their vacation in Disneyland when the dungeon outbreak occurs, but that is not the only thing that is hot right now. Reporter, the son of the duo, Akano Kenji, better known as the youngest hunter in history, was recorded fighting these monsters with a specific set of skills. Reporter, according to a monster specialist, the spider monsters were confirmed to be B-rank monsters while the bigger ones were A-rank monsters. If this is true, then Japan will be welcoming its newest S-rank hunter. Inu Mia, reporting news live here in HVM news station. Akano household. You're famous now, Chikashi said to Kenji while sipping on his coffee. Meanwhile, Kenji, who had just gotten down from his room after waking up, heard his father and smiled wearily. He does like the feeling of being famous, but being famous does come at a price. Blackmail, assassinations, cyberbullying, and many more. But of course, with a price, there is value to it. Not only does he have fans that will support him, but he would also get special treatment wherever he goes and many more. Good morning. Kanae came downstairs while still rubbing her eyes. The Akano family greeted her back. Yesterday, both mother and daughter duo were scared by what happened, so they asked the Akano family to let them stay at their mansion. Flashback. When they went back to Japan, they encountered countless reporters and flashes of light from their cameras while asking their questions. Chikashi and Hana were the ones answering their question while Kenji butted in whenever the question is about him, and before long, they dismissed the reporters and drove back home. As they arrived, Kanae spoke, "See, can I sleep with you, Kenji?" As she speak, she was flustered and her cheeks were blushing. She felt that she was too bold to ask Kenji to sleep with her, so when she was just about to take back her words, actually neve, before she could complete her sentence, she was cut off by Kenji. "I don't mind," Kenji said. Back in his previous life, he slept beside his daughter Ellie whenever she had bad dreams, so for him, this is half normal and half bad. Half bad, because Kenji knows her feelings for him, but he just pretended to be oblivious to it. I mean, she's a goddamn child. He's not a pedo. Maybe when she's in her 20s, he'll consider it. But not now. When Kanae heard his answer, her blushing intensifies while thoughts were running through her mind. We'll sleep together. What if I smell bad? I need to take a shower first. Then I'll brush my teeth in case we. Unknown to her, smoke was rushing out on top of her head. Meanwhile, Kenji could already guess what was inside her mind. What a lewd child. He shook his head, but then he remembered that their parents were also inside the car, so when he looked at them, he saw his parents giving him thumbs up. While Sheena was glaring at him coldly while muttering, "You dare take away my daughter from me. Al feast dur tir hano opis thy demonio hagamos untrado." Is she summoning Satan? Kenji felt like laughing when he heard her incantation. Kenji ignored them, and soon they entered the mansion, but they first all had their dinner before going to bed. Meanwhile, Kenji was inside the bathroom, rinsing his body with warm water before soaking his body in the bathtub. While he was at it, he was scrolling down on his phone. Korea's strongest S-rank hunter Go Gun, he cleared another A-rank gate along with A-rank hunter Woo Jin Chul. Guide how to increase dick size by 10 inches, click here to watch. A-ranked gate opened near White House, Thomas Andre to the rescue. Cute girls 10 kilometers away from your home, wants to FCK. Akano Kenji, son of Akano Chikashi and Akano Hana, saved Disneyland. Free gel that can increase hair growth, click here for more. Top 2 Asia's strongest Asura Kishimoto challenged Lu Zigang, Asia's top 1 strongest. Maria wants to have a chat, click here to chat. Granny is horn. Annie wants you inside, click here for more. Kenji immediately stopped reading. Jesus Christ, what's wrong with people nowadays? He shook his head before standing and going out of the tub, but then he noticed his little brother standing proudly, making him embarrassed. Well, I'm growing, so this is normal. He muttered before he went out of the bathroom with a towel wrapped around his lower body, but when he opened the door he felt that he hit something, which caused him to look down and saw Kanae blushing while averting her eyes. Kenji squints his eyes before muttering, "Pervert." Which was heard by Kanae, making her look at him in both fear and shock. Wait, this is just a Ms., but Kenji didn't let her finish her sentence. Oh, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about the maid who I noticed peeking inside my room. Then he pointed out the door, which Kanae looked at, and surely, she saw a pair of eyes widening in shock before running away. Seeing this, Kanae sighed in relief before lowering her head and going inside the bathroom. Kenji just chuckled at this before dressing himself, and right on time, he saw Kanae going outside the bathroom fully dressed. He nodded at her and said, "Let's sleep." He then placed a futon near the bed and grabbed some pillows and blankets before lying down. Kanae just stared at him with an "oh" expression before shaking her head and said, "You can sleep in the bed, I'll take the futon." Though deep inside her, she was expecting Kenji to be a gentleman and disagree with her, or maybe he'll do like those mangas she read and make him share the bed with her, but his expectations were crushed. "Oh, okay," Kenji said before jumping out of the futon and lying on the bed. Meanwhile, Kanae stared again before lowering her head in sadness, but when she was just about to lie down on the futon, she saw Kenji looking at her while smiling playfully. The mechanic worked on her mind before she shouted in her mind, he's teasing me. Before pouting while Kenji laughed out loud. Kenji then makes space beside him and patted in while saying, I was just teasing you, come here, let's sleep together. Kanae nodded in blush before lying down next to Kenji who turned off the lamp beside him. A few minutes later, Kanae can't take the silence anymore and said, Kenji, are asleep. She then received a reply. Yeah, you too. Isn't it obvious, you're talking to me now? Kanae smirked at him, this is her revenge. But then she received no response, she thought that she went too far so she turned around and was about to apologize but when she turned she saw him looking at him with a smirk. Want to apologize? Kenji teased. Kanae pouted in fake anger before turning back around and closing her eyes to sleep. Kenji shakes his head before lying down again but then he heard her speak, thank you. You're welcome. Replied the smiling Kenji before also closing his eyes to go to sleep. Underscore 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 underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com/SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to A. 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 13 comments 0 vote. Ch. 9. The next day, after they are some good breakfast, both Kanae and Kenji went to school while Chikashi went to his office with Shina, and Hana was left at home. Hana may be a CEO but she doesn't need to attend every day to her office, her secretary is there for that, she'll only go to her office only if some matters needed her, and as for Shina, the last time Kenji heard from her, she wanted to stay at the mansion and gossip with his mother, Hana. As soon as they left, just outside the mansion an invisible figure moved and followed the limo. Inside the limo, Kanae was avoiding Kenji's eyes out of shyness while Kenji just shook his head, then suddenly the limo stopped, and just outside, an invisible figure attacked all of his bodyguards, and before he could continue, he was thrown back by a force and when the remaining guards look at the source, they saw their young master, Kenji standing there with his fist forwards. Who the fuck are you? Kenji asks. Meanwhile, the invisible figure showed itself and it was seen that the perpetrator was a male and wearing a black spandex suit leaving only his eyes, like a ninja. A ninja? Kenji confusingly asks. It's an organization of assassins composed of assassin-class hunters. One of the guards informed Kenji. I see. Kenji nodded in understanding before sensing an object thrown at him and when he saw what it was, he just tanked it and his skin did the job, tanking the kunai. Maybe I shouldn't have suppressed my hearing. Having strong hearing has both advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is pretty obvious and the disadvantage is the one I hate and it's about me hearing through the world and I could hear everyone and even those who are having sex and someone asking for help. Kenji was thinking while tanking all the kunais thrown at him who can't even leave a mark. Geez, you're annoying, Kenji said in an annoyed tone before dashing and appearing behind the ninja and smacking the hell out of him, throwing him back while his body is skidding through the pavement destroying it in the process. He walked towards him and saw his whole body bleeding while twitching slightly. A dark red light appeared in his eyes before shooting a hot beam destroying the assassin's head before stopping. When he turned around, he saw the guards looking at him with both fear and admiration. He sighed and said to them, let's go now, I'll be late for school. They nodded their heads like a chicken pecking their heads. He went back and sat at the car, and saw Kanae inside, looking at him without even an ounce of fear, only a smile. He just smiled back and sat beside her, and a few seconds later, the car finally drove off. While inside the car, Kenji was in his thoughts, I should practice my hearing slowly. So the first thing he did was try to spread his hearing to at least 1 kilometer around him. After a few tries, he succeeded and he could hear the sound of honks, engines, tires and people yawning. He then practiced blocking all the unnecessary sounds and just like earlier, it succeeded after a few tries. And before H could practice more, the limo stopped, and finally, they arrived at the school. But not before making a mental note to use his family's influence to investigate this so-called assassin organization. Once they were just outside the school gates, they entered inside, and just like that, the school was noisy as usual but the moment they both entered inside, it quieted down and they all looked at him, in fear, admiration, envy, love and many more. He ignored them all and went to his class. A few hours later, the school ended and they both went home, but not without asking his parents about the assassin earlier. Their answer was, son, leave it to us, tomorrow morning, I'll make that organization's boss, kneel and beg you for forgiveness. That was just his father's answer. His mother's response was, Era, someone dared to hurt my Ken-chan. And her aura intensified, making his father sweat and was forced to calm her down. Just like what his father said, tomorrow morning, he saw his father sitting on the back of a muscular man who was missing a leg and an arm. Son. Just like I promised, the boss is here. Chikashi said while patting the man's head like a pet. Sorry. The man said while sweating, while Kenji just stared at him. He could feel that his parents were hiding something from him, even if both of them are influential, and a massive one at that. It's pretty impossible to make a boss of an organization submit immediately the next day. Kenji made a mental note about this, but first, When man was sweating in bullets and was secretly hoping he forgives him, he swears he's not gonna touch the Akano family ever again. No. But all his hopes were crushed down and he tried to bargain. Spare me. He tried to make a despaired face to make the kid feel pity for him, but he just saw him eating his breakfast normally while Chikashi snapped his fingers and two huge guys dragged the man out while begging and shouting for his life. So much for a leader of an organization. Kenji rolled his eyes before finishing his breakfast, just in time for Kanae to go down and ate her breakfast. Soon they both went to school again and the same happened just like yesterday. A week has passed, just like this, and finally, the Hunter Association in Japan sent him a message to determine his mana and his rank. Both his parents agreed on this, and the next day, news spread in Japan about Kenji being assessed. The countless reporters attend the Hunter Association while flashing lights were flashing around. And a limo stopped in front of the association's gates, and two famous hunters came out. Look! It's the Akano family. One of the reporters shouted while the flashes of cameras intensified. Chikashi just waved his hand while the door of the other side of the limo opened and Kenji came out, and just like earlier, the flashes of cameras intensified more. Kenji looked at his parents and nodded at them. Soon they entered the front door, being guided by a man in a suit. Once they entered, they met many people wearing white robes suitable for scientists. They entered another door again and inside, they saw a spacious hall. In the middle was an old man wearing samurai armor, and right beside him are scientists and a man wearing a yellow suit. Welcome to the Hunters Association, Kenji-san. My name is Oda Bonugana, you can call me Bon. Chikashi, we have met again. The samurai man greeted Kenji first before calling Chikashi as if they were old friends. Hello there, Chikashi said before staring at Bon. Bon just chuckled nervously. My name is Matsumoto Shigeo, but you can call me Shigeo. The man with a yellow suit introduced himself with a smile while putting his hand forward for a handshake. He may look like a good man, but Kenji knew that this guy's smile is fake, and he could see inside this guy's eyes are greed. In his past life, he had met many politicians and he knew that some of those politicians are corrupt. So he could determine a person by staring at their eyes. Sometimes you can see a person's true nature with their eyes. Let's proceed with the assessment. Bon clapped while speaking. He could see that Kenji doesn't seem to like Shigeo because of him not shaking his hand. Kenji nodded. Time to determine his rank. Underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to A. 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 9 comments 0 vote. Ch. 10. Kenji was first told to touch a huge ball that will determine the energy inside his body. Energy. I thought it was mana. Kenji thought confusedly, but he still put his hand forward and touched the ball, which started glowing in dark red. So, what's the reading? Bon asks the scientist responsible for the energy testing. The reading says, error, the scientist said while showing the screen to Bon and Kenji's parents who were also watching the procedure. Then, that means his energy capacity is beyond an S rank, Bon said while he is shocked. Kenji is a rare breed born in their country. While Shigeo on his side was having his mind running at full capacity on how to recruit this potential hunter under him. Of course, that's my little Ken-chan, after all, he's my son, Hana said while hugging Kenji again while drowning him on her huge bosom. His dad Chikashi noticed this, chuckled, and decided to help his son. Darling, I think but before he could continue he saw Hana glaring at him with a glowing red aura. Is having fun being loved and hugged by you. What a lucky boy. Even his father don't have that privilege. Chikashi's attitude changed from saving to bootlicking and said while giving his son a thumbs up. Kenji just sighed in defeat at this and let his mother hug him. Ehime, I think we should continue the test. Bon coughed slightly before informing the Akano family. Hana let go of her son before nodding her head at Bon before she went back right beside Chikashi. They went to another room, and inside is another spacious room, and in the middle is a small room with see-through glass as its wall. And on top of it is a cylindrical shaped metal, while Kenji can see that it's connected to a bigger metal with wires around. This is the strength testing room, the title says it also. I don't need to explain, Bon said while trying to make a small joke. Silence. None laughed, even his close secretary, Shigeo, didn't laugh. Ehime, let's proceed. Kenji-san, would you please step inside and place your palm on the cylindrical shaped metal above? Bon said while Kenji did as he said and placed his palm upwards until his palms touched the surface of the cylindrical shaped metal while he placed his left hand behind his back. Now, we'll slowly increase the weight of it. If you want, you could place both of your hands if you can't handle it anymore. Bon informed him while Kenji nodded. 100 kilograms. Bon said while he saw that Kenji doesn't seem to be phased, so he increased. 500 kilograms. Still the same. 1,000. 2,000. 3,000. 4,000. 20,000 inches. Once it reached here, everybody was shocked. Kenji's strength was enormous, they even thought that the testing machine was malfunctioning. So Bon decided to increase it more and shouted, 30,000. 70,000. This time, Kenji's right hand twitched a little before going back to an unfazed state. 90,000. This time, Kenji's arm was twitching for 10 seconds straight. They thought that they have to stop, but after the 10 seconds passed, the twitching stopped, so they increased. 100,000. This time, Kenji finally used both of his hands. 110,000. 120,000. 200,000. This time Kenji's arms were already red and Kenji shouted, stop. So they stopped, but everyone in the room including his parents was very shocked. My son is so strong. Hana was shocked even in her mind, while the same can be said of Chikashi, who was already seeing Kenji as someone like his wife but 100x stronger. This is ridiculous. How can a mere 13-year-old kid can have that strength? Shigeo finally can't hold it anymore and shouted in surprise. Of course. That's my son. Chikashi didn't let this chance go and praised his son. Hana just clapped her hands while Bon's jaw dropped to the ground at what he is seeing. And if his information is right, Kenji can continuously grow in strength, and they still don't know his limits. Bon picked his jaw and asks Kenji, do you think you could lift more if we do this again next year? Meanwhile, Kenji, who was looking at his arms that already healed after being torn earlier, nodded at his words. Then we'll test your other abilities, after that, we'll determine your rank, Bon said while gesturing to the scientist on his side to guide them to the next room. The scientist nodded and they were led to the next room where everyone could see various rocks, metals, and many minerals. We have many minerals here like rocks, iron, steel, and many more. Bon said before continuing, we'll test your laser vision and your freeze breath. Kenji nodded and he went to the rock area, and his eyes glowed in dark red and hot beams came out of his eyes and sliced the rock cleanly in half. Then he went to the steel area and the same thing happened along with the iron, gold, apatite, corundum, calcite, fluorite, topaz, quartz, and many more, even the diamond famous for its indestructible defense. Then he proceeded to test the minerals formed inside the gates like mana stone, various monsters, bones, and teeth. And finally this is a cloth. Bon showed a red and blue cloth while the rest stared at him dumbfoundedly. Haha. Don't look at me like that, this cloth is famous for its anti-magic properties, it was taken from a famous monster that came out of an A-rank gate. Even the strongest magic cannot destroy this cloth. I just wanted to test if your hot beams could also slice through this. Bon explained to them. Meanwhile, a glint passed on Kenji's eyes, this is a treasure, but before that, he asks, then why would no one want to use this, it's a bit useful right? You're right, but the reason why no one wants this is because it was said to be cursed by the boss of that dungeon. Bon explained again. Everyone who wears it was deprived of their mana, so basically they cannot use mana anymore, and the world of hunters usually relies on mana. Bon continued explaining. When Kenji heard this, he mentally smirked, he must have this, he doesn't need mana anyway, his fists are enough to eradicate monsters. Do you have more of this? I would like to buy it. Kenji suddenly said, shocking them, even his parents a little. But why? Shigeo said while squinting his eyes, maybe he could use this opportunity to hook this guy under him. None of your business, Kenji muttered but was still heard by everyone. Why you brat? Don't your parents teach you how to respect your elders? Shigeo burst out, not caring for the consequence. He's had enough of his disrespect. During the testing, he tried many things to have a conversation with him. He's been bootlicking for an hour and all he got was being ignored. Chill, this is why you've got a ligma, Kenji said while staring at him. Ligma. What's ligma? Shigeo was confused by this. Ligma balls, Kenji said while trying not to laugh. He could still remember when one of his old friends back in the war used this on him. Fit. Chikashi can't hold it any more longer and laughed out loud while Hana just quietly laughed. Bon just smiled at this. He was also aware of Kenji's coldness towards Shigeo, and he doesn't know why. Veins popped out of Shigeo's temples. He was very angry at being disrespected by someone younger than him. He doesn't know why he did it, but his hand moved on its own and slapped Kenji on the cheeks. Meanwhile, Kenji didn't even bother dodging and let the slap hit him. Ah! Shigeo shouted in pain while holding his injured hand. When he slapped Kenji with all of his might, he felt as if he had just slapped tungsten. He is nothing but an ordinary man. Underscore 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 underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters, and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to A. 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 12 comments 0 vote. Ch. 11. Shigeo. Bon immediately interfered. He called up the guards and escorted him out, but while Shigeo was being escorted, he was glaring at Kenji intensely. I am sorry about that. Bon apologized. He wondered why Kenji was angry at Shigeo. Have they already met? In fact, he was right. It was that time when he fully opened his super hearing and he heard the name Matsumoto Shigeo and how he's purposely assigning weak hunters to a false information gate. For example, he sent some E to D rank hunters to A, D rank gate, which in truth was actually a B rank gate. Shigeo believes that by making weak hunters experience life and death, they'll reawaken and make them stronger while at the same time making Japan strong. And to make them loyal, most E to D rank hunters are poor, so he'll come in and shower them with money by laying their bills, housing, and even their medical treatment. That way, they'll feel indebted to him and make Japan stronger than other nations. Truly a madman, Kenji thought. He just shakes his head and stared at Bon, who was looking at him. Is there something with my face? Kenji innocently asks. Nothing, nothing. Bon waved his hand while scratching the back of his head with his other hand. Then, let us proceed, Kenji said while walking towards the door. Itu. Bon seems like he was having a hard time speaking, so Kenji asks him. Is there something wrong? Kenji asks. That is not the room for the next testing. It is this way, Bon replied while pointing his finger towards the opposite of Kenji. I know that, I was just looking around. Kenji shamelessly lied before walking towards the door that he pointed to. The rest of them followed while ignoring his shamelessness. Once they entered the next room, Bon explained, this is the defense testing room. Then he continued, we'll test your toughness now. Kenji was then told to walk in the middle of the room. Stone testing, Bon said before countless stones from pebbles to boulders were thrown at him. All this was brushed off by him. Flames, Bon shouted again and a sea of flames rushed toward Kenji, who was also unfazed by this. Then they proceeded to continue testing his durability with freeze, tsunamis, guns, machine guns, and bombs. Bon was eager to try to nuke him, but just one glare from both his parents stopped Bon from doing that. He values his life more than his curiosity. After that, they gave him spare clothes because his clothes were destroyed during the testing. Bon wanted to test his durability against magic, but he just brushed it off when he saw he could tank every attack they throw at him. Magic might also give the same result, and besides, there's no strong mage available at this moment. Strength, check. Mana, energy, check. Durability, check. Bon said while checking the paper he was holding. From our testing earlier, we could make you an S-rank hunter. Not only you're the youngest hunter, but you'll also be the youngest S-rank in the whole world. Bon said while not hiding his excitement. Then, thank you for your help, we'll be leaving now, so please excuse us, Kenji said before bowing slightly. You're welcome. And yes, you can go now, please take care. Bon nodded and said, but then he remembered something and shouted. Wait. You forgot your cloth. Bon said before whispering to his assistant. Soon after the scientist left, he came back with a properly folded cloth and handed it to Kenji. Kenji nodded before taking the cloth while looking both at his parents who were smiling warmly at him. After that, he held their hands and left the Hunter Association. When they went outside, the flashes of lights from cameras intensified while reporters were constantly asking questions. Sir, when will you be participating in clearing dungeons? One of the reporters asks. Please wait for the association's announcement, Kenji answered. More questions were asked but the Akano family just ignored them and went inside their limo. Excited? Chikashi asks his son. A little bit, Kenji said. Earlier he was a bit nervous about the magic resistance test but good thing they thought that his durability against physical means also applied the same to his magic resistance. A few minutes later, they were finally at their home. Once they were inside, they saw Kanae playing with his toys all alone. What's up? Kenji greeted her. Kenji. Kanae excitedly yelled his name before running up to him and smashing him with her hug. Lonely? Kenji asked, which Kanae nodded while burying her head in his chest. After a few seconds of hugging, they sat on his bed and Kenji recounted to her what happened earlier. Why do you hate that Shigeo guy? Kanae asks. I just feel like hating him. Kenji shrugged his shoulders. Meanwhile, Kanae just stared at him with a deadpanned expression while her face was asking, really? She shook her head and firmly said, then if you hate him then I'll hate him too. Before hugging him again. Really, what's with the hugging? Kenji was confused. For the past few days, Kanae has been frequently hugging him from time to time. Nothing, I just felt like it, Kanae answered while still burying her head in his chest. Kenji just let her be, as much as she likes her hug, she is still a kid for God's sake. A few minutes later, let's go and eat dinner. Kenji said while removing the sticky girl who fell asleep on his chest. Wah. Kanae was woken up by the movement. Let's go. Kenji firmly said before holding her hand and walking outside the living room. After they ate their dinner, the Akano and Tawata families slept soundly that night. Underscore 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 underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to a 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 14 comments 0 vote. Ch. 12. The next day, the entirety of Japan was once again shocked when the Japan Hero Association announced the rising of a new and the youngest S-rank rank. Breaking news. Akano Kenji, who was known as the youngest hunter, was assessed yesterday morning about his certified rank. New S-rank hunter has appeared in Japan. Will Japan rise up to its former glory once again? Kenji, who was the center of the news, was calmly eating his breakfast along with his family. Third Pav. That fucker. I swear I'll kill you. Shigeo was inside his office, gritting his teeth and cursing around. When suddenly, he remembers that he could just assign Kenji to a B-ranked gate under the guise of a D-ranked gate. So he called up his secretary to search for some B-ranked gates. His secretary was also involved in his reawakening project. It is a project that Kenji mentioned, about putting weak hunters to high-ranked gates under the pretense of D to C-ranked gates. But deploying an S-rank hunter was no joke, it'll be headlines, and not only that, but he will also need Bon, the chairman's permission. So he went up and searched for D-ranked gates that are close to a B-ranked gate. He planned to tell Bon about the D-ranked gate which Kenji will clear as it is his first time. Then he'll let the driver take Kenji to the B-ranked gate. And once he is inside, that is where he'll come into play. First, he'll blame the driver and fire him. Then he'll send A-rank hunters to rescue Kenji inside. But then his family might forcefully enter, so this is where his plan B begins. According to the hunter's policy, only a certified hunter, or minor could enter gates. First, he'll give them a choice. Either they let his A-rank hunters rescue Kenji or they could sign themselves as hunters again and save their son. If they choose the latter, not only the Japan will get stronger again after their comeback as an S and A-rank hunter, but they might also feel grateful to him for giving them a chance to rescue their son. Not only that, he'll inform that brat that he sent his men to rescue him, which he will feel indebted to him, and then he'll propose to him a contract about working as a hunter under him in the guise of joining the Japan Hunters Association. And once signed. Boom. 3 birds with 1 stone. Kekakik, this great plan of mine will surely work. Shigeo mentally smirked and laughed. Oh, you brat, you shouldn't have messed with me. No matter how strong you are, your teeny tiny mind will never be able to bear the trauma of what will happen to you. This time, Shigeo evilly laughed out loud like a villain. Third Pav. I wonder what's for breakfast. The center of Shigeo's plan, Kenji, mentally asked himself. So he went down and saw bacon and eggs. But don't judge a book by its cover. This egg was made by a monster chicken D-rank monster and the bacon was from a pig king, a B-rank monster. Yes, that's right. Monster meat can be eaten as long as it is purified by a B or A-rank mage. So their meals every day is all top quality. So he sat down and ate along with his parents who were doing their own business. Dad. Can you sew this cloth into this? After eating, Kenji disappeared and appeared in less than a second and showed them the cloth that they received in the Japan Hunter Association, and then he showed his sketch of Superman's suit but different from the original. First of all, the underwear is not on the outside, and second, it's a mix of cloth and armor. Pick on the cover. Isn't this the cloth yesterday? Chikashi asks and Kenji nodded. Sure. Chikashi immediately agreed, as long as his son wants it, he's even willing to reach a star for him. Thanks, Dad. Kenji gratefully said before hugging him. Meanwhile, Hana was jealous that her husband was getting hugs from their son. Blee, of course Chikashi didn't forget to use this chance to tease his wife by sticking his tongue out like a kid. Tick mark appeared on Hana's forehead before smiling and smirking. Suddenly Chikashi was having a bad feeling about her smile and saw Hana's mouth open and spoke without a sound but he could still understand it despite no sounds. You'll sleep on the couch tonight. As if the thunder strikes him in his head, Chikashi didn't expect that his beloved wife would be this cruel. Wah. Chikashi was about to apologize when Hana cut him off. Kenji. Come, hug mommy. Hana said while spreading her arms, ready to receive his hug. Of course, Kenji will not forget about his mom and also hugged her. After that, they went on their way. Chikashi went to a small village near Shirakawa. He heard that a gate broke out there and caused casualties in people's homes. His purpose there was to assist, donate goods, and give them temporary homes. Meanwhile, Hana heard that someone just tried to steal files in her office and she is needed there. Our protagonist, Kenji, and Kanae were on their way to school when the limo abruptly stopped. Kenji held Kanae to stop her from falling. He's using his hearing and already predicted this. 10. Kenji counted, he looked outside and saw his same bodyguards fighting the attackers. RPG. One of his bodyguards shouted and Kenji saw an RPG coming into his limo. ZOOOOOOOMM. As if stopping time, everything slowed down except for Kenji who was staring at the RPG that is headed towards them. He first grabbed Kanae, then went towards the front seat and also grabbed the driver. After that, he blurred and appeared behind a tree, far away from the battlefield. After dropping the both of them, he blurred again and grabbed the rest of the bodyguards and dropped them on the same tree. After that, he went to the battlefield and saw that the RPG was close to the limo. He ignored the RPG and stared at the assassins who were wearing full-body Kevlar suits. He first grabbed them all and positioned them. From the outside perspective, you can see 10 men in full-body Kevlar suits were close to each other and forming a circle. Once that was done, Kenji went back to the limo and grabbed the RPG bomb, then placed it in the middle of the circle with its tip facing down. After that, he removed the Kevlar suits that they were wearing and saw that they were all Americans. Americans. Why would they want my ass? Kenji confusedly asks himself but decided to put it aside for now. After removing their suits, leaving them in their birthday suits, he stepped back a little and the time resumed again. Underscore 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 underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to A. 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stone. Ch. 13. Boom. An explosion occurred near the Shuian High School turning the alarms on while panicked students were running around like chickens. Meanwhile, the teachers were trying to discern the situation while calling the polices. Some students tried to sneak to the place of the explosion but were caught by the security guard who was a C-rank hunter. Kanae Pav. I feel death flashing before my eyes, but before I died I want to hug Kenji one last time. When suddenly, my vision blurs and I saw myself behind a tree along with the driver. So we died, huh? I tried to look for Kenji and saw the guards appearing, but I didn't care about that. I saw that Kenji was not here, meaning he's not dead. I feel happy. Be you. My trail of thoughts was cut off when we heard an explosion near us, so we turned our heads and saw an explosion occurring. What's that? I asked, but suddenly I felt a hand touching my shoulder. So I instinctively turned and dropped a wheel kick on whoever tried to touch me aside from my beloved Kenji. Itai. I held my feet in pain, it felt like I just kicked steel, so when I looked at the one who touched me, I paled and saw Kenji smiling at me. Yo, Kenji said, making me faint. Third Pav. Yo. Kenji greeted Kanae, whose eyes rolled up and fainted. Kenji confusedly stares at her fainted form. Kenji done. His driver interrupted him. When Kenji turns to look at him, he saw his driver along with the bodyguards kowtowing. What's up with you, guys? Kenji asks them. We have failed. This is the second time you've saved our lives. One of his bodyguards said while tearing up. Oi oi. Stop kneeling, you guys, Kenji sighed. He isn't used to people kowtowing, though he was used to being respected due to his past life military, but that was all a salute, not kowtow like this. We will not stand here unless you punish us. They all said in unison. Kenji just stared at them kowtowing before sighing again and saying, fine, fine. I'll tell father to punish you, now let's go, we'll be late. Kenji yelled. Hi. They said before running back to the limo that was littered with bullet holes. Once inside, they proceeded to ride to school. On the way there, Kenji also woke up Kanae, who immediately apologized 100 times. Kenji just sighed and forgave her. Soon they reached the school and saw students running randomly. What's going on here? Kenji asks while stepping outside of the car along with Kanae. Look. It's the new S-rank hunter. We're saved. One of the students shouted in excitement, followed by the rest. Meanwhile, the teachers and the new principal sighed in relief. Although Kenji was very young, they believe in the Japan Hunter Association's choice. I'll repeat, what's going on? Kenji repeated. One of the students speak up. We heard an explosion near here. I think a country is testing their weapons on us. What's going on inside his head? Kenji mentally asks when he heard the student's answer. Kenji shook his head and announced, it's just a false alarm. When they heard him, they all sighed in relief. Soon the school continued as usual while the teachers cancelled their calls to the hunters and police, saying that it was just a false alarm. But the police will still investigate just to be sure. Soon the school ended. As usual, Kenji and Kanae went home but saw an additional car parked in the garage. When they went inside, they saw Shigeo, talking with a kind smile to his parents. Yo. Kenji greeted. Ken-chan. Hana stand up off the couch and marched toward Kenji and pinched his cheeks as usual, but this time, Kenji doesn't feel a thing. Ah, Ken-chan, I can't pinch your cheeks anymore. Hana, sadly, said. Kenji just smiled and said, well, at least we could still hug each other. Kenji said before enveloping Hana in a tight hug. Yay. Hana cheered up and hugged him back. Ehem. Chikashi coughed, to get their attention, which worked. Dear, we have a guest. Chikashi reminded her. Hana turned around and glared at him before mouthing, you'll sleep on the couch again tonight. Chikashi smiled wearily. Ever since Kenji was born, he felt like he slept more on the couch rather than their bed. Ehem, what I've been saying was we would like to invite Kenji-san here to participate in AD rank gate raid led by AB rank hunter, Shigeo said while pushing the rim of his glasses making them shine. Kenji smiled at this. If that is true, then this so-called D rank gate must be AB rank gate. In fact, he doesn't mind. This is much better. After all, he's already killed someone in his past life. He even experienced death, so no need to go through PTSD once again. Kenji noticed that both his parents are staring at him waiting for his answer, so Kenji answered. Yeah, sure. Kenji gave his answer, excitedly, which makes Shigeo smile creepily. That's good. We're already looking for AD rank gate and I would like to ask if you're free tomorrow. If you are, then we'll start tomorrow. Shigeo excitedly said, which makes the Akano family look at him weirdly. When Shigeo realizes that he was too excited, he nervously chuckles while pushing the rim of his glasses. Sorry about that, I was too excited because of our country having a new S-rank hunter. He explains. The Akano family temporarily accepted his excuse before chatting for a few minutes. It didn't take long before Shigeo excitedly leaves. In the car, Shigeo was grinning and cackling like a madman. Kekaki, what a naive kid. Shigeo continued to cackle before leaving the premises. Told you, Dad, he's weird, Kenji said before holding Kanae's hand and going upstairs. Well, I already investigated him and knew of his dealings. Though I'd like to expose him, Kenji insists on letting him play his last game. Chikashi shrugged his shoulders while explaining when he saw Hana staring at him with a raised eyebrow. Hana just sighed before glaring at him. You're still sleeping on the couch tonight, she said before standing up and walking upstairs while swaying her hips. That night, Chikashi silently cried in his sleep. Underscore 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 underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters, and if you want to support me, www.patreon.com SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to A. 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 20 comments 0 vote. Pissed. Download the app for additional rewards. More events. Slime. Download app now. Ch. 14. Before you read this, let me guess first. After reading this chapter, you'll drop this book and rate it 1 star, then complain about how the Mick is a pedophile and some shit, then you will use your alt accounts to rate this book 1 star, then you will tell your friends not to ready this shit. All I wanted to say was, thank you for accompanying me from the start until to this day. You have my permission to drop the book after reading this chapter. Underscore 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 underscore. The next day, Kenji woke up and went to shower. After showering, he went downstairs and saw his dad on the table with a tall box on his side. Chikashi noticed him and greeted him. Good morning, son. Eat first, I have something to show you. Kenji did as he was told and ate his breakfast, followed by Kanae and Hana, who just woke up. Once they're done, Kenji asks, what is it, Dad? Chikashi smiled and took the tall box on his side and presented it to him. Kenji confusedly looks at the tall box. Is it his birthday? Chikashi noticed his confused look and explained, it's your costume. Open it. When Kenji heard him, he brightens up and opens the box. Once opened, he saw a mannequin wearing a blue and red costume. Exactly a Superman costume like he requested, but he changed it a bit. First of all, the underwear is not outside like the original costume. Second, it looks more like armor rather than a cloth. That's because he requested it too. He doesn't want to wear something that chokes his body like Spider-Man. He prefers something like this. The cover is the image. Once done checking it up, he stand up and hugged his dad first. Thanks, Dad, he said before also hugging his mother since he could feel her stare at him when he is hugging his dad. Wear it. Chikashi encourages him. Kenji smiled and nodded before doing the iconic Superman wearing his costume like in the movies. He disappeared and appeared, but nothing changed on his body, making everyone confused. Where's your costume? Chikashi asks confusedly. Kenji smiled and slowly opens his shirt on his chest with both his hands, revealing the Superman costume. Once done, he's finally on his costume while everyone just stared at him dumbfoundedly. What was that? Hana couldn't hold it anymore and asked. Nothing, just felt like doing it, Kenji replied. They just shake their heads and ignored that scene. So, what does it feel like? Do you feel uncomfortable? Chikashi asks. Which, Kenji shakes his head and said, nope. In fact, I feel really good. Chikashi sighed in relief. So, ready for your first raid? Hana changes the topic and asks Kenji. Kenji nodded, although he knew that he was being schemed, that doesn't mean he was not excited. He can't wait to crush some monsters' skulls with nothing but his bare hands. Suddenly he noticed Kanae was looking a bit down, so he asks, what's wrong, Kanae? Which startles Kanae and her eyes darted around nervously, especially at his parents. He noticed that she started getting more nervous and keeps fidgeting. So, he held her soft hand, and they went upstairs, but not before thanking his dad one last time. They went inside his room and asks, what's wrong? Kanae stopped fidgeting and sighs sadly. It's just that, I felt useless. Kanae talked. Kanae Pav. When both me and Kenji went home after almost being killed if it wasn't for Kenji-kun. I felt useless. That was the second time he saved me without asking anything back. I tried to talk to him if he wants something from me, but all he said was, being by my side is all I want from you. Although it was sweet, it was crushed by his next words. Because you're my friend. Although I was saddened by it, at least being by his side is enough for me, even though I'm not the one he's gonna love. And besides, we're still kids and I haven't confessed yet, so there's still a chance for me. But I'm weak, does he still want me to be his friend if I'm weak? I'll just be a burden to his life. Once he's achieved enough fame, I'll just be a pebble to his eyes. After all, he's the youngest S rank ever. I even heard his feats and I'm so amazed. What's wrong, Kanae? I was startled when I heard his voice. It was so smooth, so charming and so handsome, like a Prince Charming. I wanted to confess to him right here, and right now, but I was nervous. I could see his parents being disappointed in him by having me as his girlfriend. After all, I'm just a weak girl. I was startled when Kenji-kun suddenly held my hand softly and dragged me upstairs. We went to his room and asks me again, what's wrong? It's just that, I feel useless. Third Pav. It's just that, I feel useless. After all, you've been saving me ever since we've met. Kanae told him. Kenji was just a bit shocked. He didn't expect that her thoughts about him will drag into this. What are you saying? I don't mind, after all, we're fryin'. When he was just about to say friends, he noticed that Kanae lost some light in her eyes. Kenji narrows his eyes and realization hit him. I see, I guess she really liked me, I thought it was just some silly childhood crush. Kenji sighs. Hey, Kanae, Kenji called out. Do you like me? Kenji suddenly said, which startles Kanae. What are you saying? Of course I don't like you or anything. Kanae was frantic, not knowing what she was saying right now. I see, Kenji said with a disappointed expression. When Kanae noticed this, she finally realized what she said and fear took over her. No, I didn't mean that. Kanae tries to explain, which makes her look cute. Then do you like me? Kenji asks again. I. Kanae doesn't know what to say, she wants to confess to him right now. Yes. Finally, Kanae gave up and confessed. Kenji grins and said, then do you want to go on a date with me? Kanae was shocked, she thought she was gonna be rejected, but she didn't expect this answer. I said, do you want to go on a date with me? Kenji repeated. Are you asking me to be your girlfriend? Kanae just wanted to confirm. Kenji nodded, which makes Kanae beet red while smoke was coming out of her head right now. Before they knew it, Kanae fainted on the spot. Kenji just scratched his head at this and muttered, I hope she's not dead. Underscore. You can drop it now. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters, and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to A. 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 37 comments 0 vote. Ch. 15. I think I'll receive a lot of hate from this. After settling Kanae on his bed, Kenji went out of his room and said, are you happy now? It looks like he's talking to the air, but a few seconds later, a shadow came out and reveals Shina, who immediately kneeled. Thank you for accepting my selfish request, Kenji-sama. She then bowed her head. Please stand, Shina-san. Kenji sighed and helped her stand up. Why do you even want me to be her boyfriend at such an early age? Kenji asks confusedly. Yesterday he and Shina talked in private and asks him to accept Kanae's confession without explaining why. Meanwhile, he who was confused at that time decided to accept her request since he treats her as part of his family and families always got each other's back, and besides, he could already guess the reason for it. Every night, I could see my daughter looking up to you. Every day she comes to my side and continued praising you about everything you've ever done. Then one day, I saw her coming to me with a sad face. I asked her why, but the answer I got was, Mom, do you think I'm pretty? Shina sadly said while looking down. Meanwhile, Kenji just stared at her and urged her to continue. Shina did and continued, so as a mother, I feel hurt on seeing my precious daughter sad and depressed at such an early age. So I had no choice but to beg you, and I'm very thankful to you for accepting my selfish request. After speaking, she tried to kowtow again but was stopped by Kenji. Kenji sighed, but let's establish some conditions. Kenji said, shocking Shina a bit. Please. Ask me anything. She bowed again. Kenji sighed again. First of all, we'll not be doing what couples do, like kissing until she's 18 or higher. Lastly, you won't tell my parents about this until she is 18. Kenji said, which Shina threw confused but still agrees since there is no harm. I just hope dimensional FBI doesn't exist like those I've read on the internet. Kenji silently prayed in his heart. Soon Sheena and Kenji parted ways unknown to them someone was watching them. Pav. Kenji. You should hurry up. A 15-meter-tall being with dark red armor and glowing dark red aura said in a deep tone. Guess I'll need to hurry up your progress so you can bear my power without consequences. The dark red being said before turning to his right. Are you sure this is the way? He asks the man on his side who was wearing a cloth over his head with 3 pairs of wings on his back. Of course, it'll work. After all, Ashborn-sama also seeks my help. I guarantee you that this is the fastest way, as long as you keep the end of the deal. The architect said while smiling. Immortality, right? That's easy to me. The dark red being said while continued staring at the abyss. Third Pav. Kenji woke up the next day and excitedly jumped off his bed while putting his Superman suit underneath his hoodie. Kenji woke up the next day and excitedly jumped off his bed while putting his Superman suit underneath his hoodie. Kenji went down and saw his parents eating breakfast, so he also ate, followed by Kanae and Sheena, who stared at Kenji for a few seconds and turns away silently. Are you ready, son? Chikashi asks his son Kenji, who was obviously excited. Yeah, can't wait, Kenji replied. Soon after they ate, a black sedan stopped in front of the mansion and the driver went out. Halt, state your purpose. The guard on the gates said to the driver. Meanwhile, Kenji heard this through his super hearing and was confused about which era this guy came from. I'm currently here to deliver Kenji-sama to the location of the gate. When Kenji heard this, he told his parents and he went out. Kenji just got outside and saw a black sedan parked near the gates. Young master. Shigeo-sama has asked me to fetch you. The driver said in a cheered tone. Kenji just nodded at the guards and they parted ways. Kenji turns around and hugged both his parents and also hugged Kanae, who blushes, and Sheena, who muttered, thanks. After that, he went inside the black sedan and went off, followed by a series of black sedans composed of his bodyguards. But these bodyguards are different, since Kenji could clearly feel that these bodyguards are at least B to A rank hunters. Soon, they finally arrived and Kenji saw the glowing blue gate that was surrounded by some hunters and miners. Kenji also saw Shigeo among them giving commands, and his face cheered up when he saw Kenji stepping out of the black sedan. Kenji-san. Shigeo shouted while waving his hand. Kenji nodded at him and stared at the gate. This is the D-rank gate I'm talking about. Although it might look bigger than the normal D-rank gate, I assure you that this is a D-rank gate. Shigeo shamelessly lied to him. Kenji just nodded and asks, when will we be starting? Shigeo replied, we can start later since my hunters are still preparing. Kenji just nodded and waited for 5 minutes before they could finally start. I'll go first, Kenji said to Shigeo. Sure. Shigeo said, but it was different in his mind. Fine, if you want to die early then go ahead. And mentally smirked. Without saying anything, Kenji went inside, but before everyone could also enter, they saw the gate turn red at the last moment. AA and A-ranked gate. One of the hunters shouted in shock. Even Shigeo was shocked by this event. This is not on the script that he has. Soon, the Japan Hunter Association, including Kenji's parents, was immediately informed. Nani? Bon shouted in anger when he heard what just happened while talking on his phone. This is bad. The Akano family definitely won't let us get away with this. Bon muttered before standing up and going to the A-ranked gate location. Underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters, and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com. SlimeSage, don't forget to change it to A. 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 15 comments 0 vote. Ch. 16. After the Akano family was informed, they both immediately abandoned what they were doing and rushed to the location of the A-rank gate. Once they reached, Hana immediately sucker punched Shigeo, who was thrown a few meters away. It'll not be a surprise if Shigeo died by that punch. After all, he's just a normal man, and facing a punch from an S-rank hunter is no joke. Hun, calm down. I'm sure Kenji will be okay. Chikashi immediately calmed her down. Hana heaves a breath before calming down. What if he got injured inside? Hana said in a worried tone. This is the first time she felt powerless since she reawakened. Hun, getting injured inside a dungeon is pretty much normal. Chikashi hugged the woman. Although he is also a bit worried for Kenji, he knew that as a man he should never show weakness in front of her wife. And besides, Kenji is as strong as hell, I'm sure he could figure something out. Chikashi mentally relieves himself from bad thoughts. And we'll also make sure the Japan Hunter Association will never get away with this. Before Chikashi looked calm, but when he said this, his eyes turns cold, and his aura bursts out, stunning everyone in the vicinity. Soon, a sedan car skidded and Bon came out while sweating a bit. I'll personally find out who's responsible for this. Bon immediately said to the cold Chikashi who was hugging his wife. You mean him? Chikashi pointed out towards the floor that is dyed in red blood, making Bon shocked a bit. If his guess is right, then this blood sprayed belongs to Shigeo. Bon just shook his head and said, we'll try to compensate you. Which was rebuked by Hana. Compensate? Do you think my baby's life can be compensated? Just like Chikashi. Hana also bursts out her aura, making everyone faint in fear, pain, and shock, and while some of them fainted in pleasure. No. I didn't mean that. Bon immediately declined her words and tried to find some fitting words that'll make the demoness calm down. But no matter what he does, he can't seem to think of a reason, so he just shuts up. HMPF. Hana turned her head to the side and stared at the red gate. Baby, please be careful. Hana anxiously said while Chikashi just patted her shoulders and hugged her from behind, also praying for Kenji's safety. Unknown to them, Kenji was just strolling around the desert. A-ranked gate, desert. Damn. I didn't expect I'll be transferred to where the sun hits the most. Kenji said while grinning. He feels so good being bathed in sunlight while strolling around. So far, he hasn't met any monsters. Where the hell are they? Kenji said while looking back at the red gate. And why did the gate turns red? I should have listened to history lessons. Kenji shook his head, he was too excited that he didn't bother researching on Google about gates. Suddenly, he saw a shark's fin swimming under the sand. What the? Sharks on sand. Kenji chuckled while waiting for the shark to strike him first. Without even waiting for a minute, the shark immediately jumped out of the sand and opened its mouth to swallow him whole. That's kinda small. Kenji confusedly said while staring at the small shark that was about to swallow him. He expected the monster to be at least bigger than the spiders he fought at Disneyland. I'm kinda disappointed. Kenji shakes his head before punching the shark on its cheek, turning it into a red blood mist. Geez, at least bring me some strong monsters, Kenji said while walking away. Without even managing to walk for at least a minute, another shark's fin came and tried to attack him, which he just punched to death again. Soon many other sharks also followed and attacked him, which caused him to retaliate, and it took him an hour to finish them all. That'll be the 100, Kenji said while his gloved fists were smoking hot. It was then that he noticed that the sun's heat was intensifying, burning the sand, slowly turning it into shimmering glass. Wow. It feels good. Kenji smiled while staring at the sun, even his eyeballs are enhanced like Superman. Suddenly, another shark appeared in his vision. At first he thought that it was just another normal shark, but when he focused, he noticed that it is much bigger compared to the previous ones. Suddenly, the shark's mouth opens, and when Kenji thought that the shark was gonna butte him off, he saw a yellow ball of light shine and release a beam, turning every sand into shimmering glasses. At first, Kenji thought about dodging, but then he sensed that the beam of light felt very familiar to him, so he decided to stay and tanked it. And it seems like his guess is right. Isn't this sunlight energy? Kenji muttered while putting his hands behind his head and relaxed. This feels good, Kenji said, and before he knew it, the beam slowly decreased and finally, it stopped completely. That's it. Come on, give me more. Kenji grinned while glaring at the shark. Huff huff. You're out of breath. Since when did sharks get exhausted? Kenji confusedly asked before deciding to finally finish him off. Thanks for the charge, though, Kenji said his words before slapping the exhausted shark to death. Huum. Smack. Before the shark was about to be smacked, it released a loud strange noise which irritates Kenji more and killed him. Like any others, the shark turns into a red mist of blood. Soon enough, Kenji heard loud rumbles behind him that causes him to look back and stare in shock. Right in front of him are the same sharks, but these are different, they're bigger, and all of them are full of muscles. How does he know? Well, their fins have a trace of muscles and their below are six-pack abs. Strong. Kenji safely nodded before dodging a jaw of a shark. And fast, Kenji added when he saw that the shark that attacked him was very fast compared to the previous one. Now that he looks at it, one shark stands out of all of them. This shark is so different that Kenji could see the shark was standing like a human and had muscular arms. He looks like King Shark from The Suicide Squad movie, except that he is muscular and has 8-pack abs. Kenji then stares at the horde of sharks with King Shark, which he will call, for now, standing in the middle of them. I hope you guys are ready for a dance. Kenji grins while slamming his right fist on his left palm, producing a shockwave that pushes the sands back and shatters the glasses on the floor. Underscore 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 underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters, and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com/SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to A. 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 12 comments 0 vote. Ch. 17. The Akano and the newly arrived Tawata family were chatting with each other. It's been an hour, isn't it? Sheena worriedly said while staring at the swirling red gate. I'm sure, he will be fine, Kanae said with a bit of worry and fear in her tone. After all, he just asked her out yesterday, and dying inside a gate while not fulfilling his promise breaks her heart, and she also felt powerless. Of course, Chikashi and Hana noticed this and comforted her. Of course, you are right, Kanae-chan. After all, during the assessment, Kenji-chan shows his power that is beyond S-rank hunter. You know, Hana said while patting Kanae's head. Kanae just nodded meekly, while Chikashi just sighed and stared at the gate while mentally thinking. Make sure you're gonna be back to us in one piece. Many of us here are waiting for you, son. Meanwhile, inside the red gate. I hope you guys are ready for a dance. Kenji smirked before blasting off and punching the nearby shark before blasting off again and kept repeating. But his massacre was stopped when he felt himself being drowned in the sunlight beam. Thanks for the meal. Kenji grinned, feeling the increasing strength inside his every cell. Soon Kenji also released his laser beams, overpowering the shark's beams. With his laser beams, the shark's number slowly dwindled, but suddenly his laser beams were pushed back by someone else's. If his guess is right, then the king shark's beam was the one who pushed his laser beam back. Wow, a worthy opponent. Kenji said before intensifying his laser beams while the king shark also did the same. On the outside perspective, you could see 2 beings, one that looked like a half shark and a half giant releasing beams from his mouth, while the other one was a muscular teen also releasing his laser beams, locking the both of them in a laser beam competition. Slowly, King Shark was losing to his advantage, so he ordered his remaining shark minions to also release their beams to help him. The minions followed and released their beams, which is a bit tiny compared to King Shark's beam. Well, this was fun. I'll charge up a bit. Kenji said before stopping his laser beams, allowing the intense combination of countless sunlight beams to hit him with full force, destroying and melting everything on its path. Soon enough, Kenji was engulfed in sunlight beams, making King Shark think that he won. Once thinking that he won, the sunlight beam slowly loses its power till the line of sunlight beam dwindled to nothingness. Seeing that his job is done, King Shark along with his minions turned their backs and was about to go back when suddenly. I feel full. Kenji's voice resonated around the area, making King Shark and his minions stopped and turned their back around just to see their enemy standing there without a scratch. Even his clothes don't have one. Impossible greater than. King Shark muttered in monster language. Wait, you can talk. Kenji, who was stretching his arms, abruptly stopped and said in shock. Stupid human greater than, King Shark said again in monster language. Hey. Who are you calling stupid? Kenji refuted, not knowing that he could understand and speak the monster language. What? Impossible. King Shark said in shock while staring at Kenji. Impossible. What impossible? Kenji asks confusedly for a second before noticing something strange when he speaks. Hello. 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 La, Kenji tested his voice a few times before panicking. What? What language is this? Kenji fell into a state of panic while clutching his throat, trying to fix it. Meanwhile, King Shark just deadpanned and stared at him like he was an idiot. Enough. How do you know monster language, human? King Shark growled in anger. I don't know. Kenji shrugged his shoulders. By the way, are we gonna continue our fight? Kenji decided to ignore the unknown language that he is speaking and decided to end this so he could finally get out. I'll end you. King Shark yelled before rushing at him in anger. With such a huge build, it's a huge surprise that he could move at sonic speeds, appearing in front of Kenji while his fists are already closed and ready to punch. Kenji just puffed his chest as if ready to take the punch from a 15-meter tall King Shark. BOOOOMMMM. The sand beneath Kenji exploded and created dust of sand surrounding them and blocking their vision, but for Kenji, this was nothing since he could just use his X-ray vision to detect his enemy. There you are. Kenji grinned and punched to his left. Boom. With his punch, King Shark was thrown away for a few meters before skidding his body on the ground. Wow, you survived that. Kenji was amused, this is the first time someone could take his punch without exploding in a mist of blood. Ha ha ha, this is nothing to me. King Shark stands up and the hole on his chest slowly regenerated as fast as Wolverine. You have healing powers? Kenji questioned. Didn't you just see it earlier? King Shark asks the dumb human. Without waiting for Kenji's reply, King Shark disappeared again in a sonic boom before punching at Kenji, who just blocked it with his palm. But a gust of wind blew behind Kenji, blowing everything on its path, showing how strong King Shark is and how tough Kenji's palm was. Kenji whistled and said, less than you pack a punch greater than. Before continuing, less than how about a taste of mine greater than. Kenji clenched his fist before punching King Shark on his chest 3 times in a second. Boom. 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 With his 3 consecutive punches, King Shark's body was separated in half before being thrown away in sonic booms. Ji Gua. King Shark finally can't take it anymore and spitted out blood while his upper and lower body was slowly generating flesh and attracting each other, trying to reconnect. Yup, that's enough. Kenji sighed while walking towards King Shark, and when he finally reached there, he continued, less than you're the strongest opponent I've ever fought so far. He pulled back his hand and clenched it into a fist. Meanwhile, when King Shark was about to fight back, he saw Kenji pulling his arm back while clenching his fist with his cape fluttering behind him, and King Shark saw a glimpse of his master's image overlapping with Kenji. Master greater than, King Shark was able to mutter his last words before his head splattered into pieces. Sorry, what were you saying? Kenji thought he heard it wrong. After all, what he heard was, Master, and calling someone who was about to kill you, Master, then either that guy is an idiot or was actually a masochist. Kenji shakes his head, imagining King Shark being a masochist, tainting his pure mind. When Kenji turns around, he saw that the mini sharks earlier were already gone. They escaped, huh, Kenji muttered before sighing. Soon enough, after killing the boss in the dungeon, a swirling red gate appeared just a few meters away from him. It's finally finished, huh? Kenji said before continuing, well, it's very fun while it lasts. Kenji mutters and walked toward the red gate. Underscore 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 underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters, and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com/SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to a 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 12 comments 0 vote. Ch. 18. Can you please drop some detailed reviews, thank you. Gimme some stanez greater than the author told you in monster language. Underscore 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 underscore. Outside the gate, it's been a day and a half since Kenji went inside the red gate, and the Akano family was finally getting more anxious along with Bon. But before their anxiety intensifies, the red gate swirls, which caused them to look at the gate in nervousness while getting ready. Either Kenji will come out or the monsters will, which means Kenji failed and died inside the dungeon. Soon, a figure slowly walked out and said, hello there. Hana didn't care anymore and immediately hugged her son, Kenji. Oh, Kenji, you're safe. You're finally in my arms. Hana said while tears were falling out of her eyes. Chikashi just teared up a little before wiping it off. He's a man and a husband, and they don't cry. So he just walked and patted Kenji's shoulders and Hana's back before hugging the both of them. Hoo. My son. You're safe. Chikashi couldn't take it anymore and hugged them both and cried loudly. Kenji then felt someone hugging him from behind, and Kanae was also hugging him while she was silently crying. Guys, come on. I'm finally safe, right? Let me rest at least. Kenji wearily said to them. But too bad, his family doesn't seem to want to get off of him, so he just lets them be, and in the meantime, he'll just wander his eyes around just to see who are the hunters that came here. He could see some famous hunters like Yamanata Sakaguchi the samurai, Kagura the Wolven prince, and many more. Unknown to him, what he just did will cause huge waves around the world, and the title of Asia's strongest hunter will fall to him. Deciding to take this chance, Bon walked forward and bowed while speaking. I'm very sorry, Kenji Dono. You have my most sincere apology and please don't worry, things like this won't happen because. Bon stopped for a second while staring at the remains of Shigeo. While Kenji followed his gaze and saw some pieces of flesh while the floor was painted red. Kenji could already guess what this means and who did it but still decided to ask, who did it? Bon's eyes darted towards the back of Hana who was hugging Kenji before sighing, it was, but he was cut off. Me, Hana said while still hugging her son. Kenji just warmly smiled and said, though I would like to be the one to take revenge but still thank you, Mom. He hugged her back. Chikashi wiped his tears from his face before looking at Bon and saying, we'll be going home, for now, this matter will be discussed tomorrow. In the first sentence, Chikashi has a warm smile but it turns into a cold one in the last sentence. Bon just scratched the back of his head before bowing again, yes. Please take care on your way back. Before standing straight and smiling. Chikashi just nodded at him and turns to look at Kenji, Kanae, Hana, and even Shina who is standing behind but still has tear stains on her cheeks. Then there is also Iroh who is actually the leader of Firebenders Guild where hunters that specialize in fire magic can be found. He nodded at Iroh and Iroh also nodded and smiled back before walking away since his job is making sure that his friend's son is safe. Chikashi called his family and the Tawada family before getting inside the limo followed by the rest. Soon the limo takes off and disappears in the night. Bon just stared at the car before taking off his glasses and cleaning it before muttering, I think I'll retire tomorrow. Before telling the hunters to go back to their homes before going home himself. At the Akano family mansion, Kenji was telling his parents, Kanae and Shina about what he experienced inside the Red Gate. I see. Chikashi nodded before continuing, I didn't expect you to be this strong. This must be because of my genes. Ha ha ha. Chikashi laughed before getting smacked from behind by Hana who yelled at him. It's because of my genes. You idiot. Hana angrily pouted while Chikashi tried calming her down. Oh, of course he inherited your genes after all, you're stronger than me, ha ha ha. Chikashi scratched the back of his head. Then what? Kanae ignored them both and asks Kenji for the rest of the story. Then He continued the rest of the story and they were confused about the part where he could understand the monster and speak some unknown language. I see. Chikashi muttered while inside his mind, maybe he's also a ruler's vessel like us. But that's impossible, the rulers didn't inform me or Hana so the answer will be. As if hit by a truck, a crazy thought appeared on his mind, perhaps he's the vessel of him. As much as Chikashi didn't want to believe but this is the only thing that went on his mind. If it's Ashborn, then he should be able to control shadows. Then he stared at Kenji's shadow and felt no being inside it. So it's really him, huh? I'll tell Hana later but first, let's keep this a secret until he's on the right age. I think it's time to get some rest, right? Kenji, you must be tired, let's sleep for tonight and continue this tomorrow. Chikashi said and Hana was confused but with a stare from Chikashi, she already understood that something is going on. So they said goodnight to each other before entering their rooms. Pav. Ha ha ha. He's finally on the right path. A dark red being deeply laughed before getting serious. They've already set that world as their next destination, I need to hurry it up. The dark red being said before thinking of a few plans for his vessel. Aren't you gonna wake up from your slumber, friend? He then mysteriously mutters before his shadow suddenly moved a bit making him chuckle. Yeah, I'll wait. The dark red being said before closing his eyes. Third Pav. The next morning, news about the Red Gate was taking lead as the new S-rank hunter of Japan was the first hunter to ever clear an A-rank gate. Countless reporters were requesting an interview with the Akano family but so far, the Akano family just stated to wait for Japan's Hunter Association announcement which disappoints a few of them. Soon 6 years has passed. Underscore 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 underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to A. 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 15 comments 0 vote. Ch. 19. Kenji Pav. Fire. Fire everywhere, I could see that I'm on top of a building, and the surrounding buildings are either destroyed or on fire. I could also hear the screams of despair of the people who were dying. I tried to escape but I noticed that my powers doesn't work anymore. Who could have done it? The one who reincarnated me. But why? That was when I heard a loud cry behind me. Father. I quickly turned around and saw my daughter Ellie on the edge of the building, holding Elijah while crying. Ellie. I shouted on top of my lungs while the smoke took the chance to invade my lungs when I breathed. AHK. Cough cough. I coughed while still hearing Elijah crying in the background with Ellie asking for my help. I'm coming. I shouted back while thinking, how did the smoke get in my lungs when I'm on top of the roof? But I decided to ignore that and save my daughter and grandson first. But suddenly, Caesar needs help. I heard his voice behind me and turned just to see Caesar also on the edge of the building while his eyes are bloodshot and had bullet wounds on his body. Caesar. I muttered weakly. Boom. The building I'm standing on suddenly exploded while debris fell out. I could already feel the building slowly tilting. I need to make a choice fast. Father. Help. I kept turning my head side by side until I decided to make a decision. I looked at Caesar and said, I'm sorry, Caesar. I told him weakly before turning around, not wanting to hear nor see his reaction. But I still managed to glimpse at his face nodding while having the warmest smile. Ah. I shouted again and held both my daughter and grandson in my arms when suddenly. Boom. The ground we're standing on suddenly collapses, making us fall to our deaths. I could hear both of their screams and feel their fear while staring at the incoming ground. I'm sorry. I managed to mutter before everything turns black. Third POV. Inside a room, a man with a muscular but not too muscular body was sleeping while sweats were forming on his forehead while he was shaking his head side by side, while by his side was a black-haired beautiful lady with dark purple-colored lips and black fingernails who was hugging him. I'm planning on giving her the same tattoo as in the canon since she looks hot that way. Soon the man opens his eyes which were glowing dark red before closing them again and sighing in relief. It's been 6 years since the Red Gate incident, and it was also that day that he dreamt that dream. It just randomly keeps repeating itself, and he doesn't even care anymore since the first time he experienced that dream was also the time he learned how to fly. Now he could be called a certified Superman. After all, have you seen a Superman that doesn't fly? The first thing he did was to remove himself from the hug and went to the bathroom. It's been 21 years since he's here in this world. Every day his strength keeps on increasing to the point that he doesn't bother counting the tons he could lift anymore. Many things have happened during these years. First of all, his relationship with Kanae was discovered by his parents just this last year. It was because Kanae sneakily entered his room and hugged him throughout the night, and when Kenji's parents came to his room to wake him up, they saw Kanae hugging him like a koala and they just assumed that Kenji and Kanae are a couple. Since then, after discovering their secret, Kanae has been sneaking up to him every night until he finally allowed her to sleep beside him. Now you must be wondering, how could Kanae sneak up on him, right? Well, that night was also the night he dreamt that dream for the second time. So that day the family went on a vacation to the Philippines, Boracay, to celebrate their relationship, and is where they also encountered a C-rank dungeon which was cleared by Kenji, and of course with the permission of the Philippine president. Then, Kanae also finally awakened her mana, allowing her to participate in his dungeon ratings, and by the way, she is also an S-rank hunter like him, so the whole of Japan was cheering for having another S-rank hunter. And also, when she goes into puberty, she starts liking the purple color to the point that she even uses purple lipstick, and purple fingernails, and most of her clothes are purple colored. Then there is also Iroh, who retired as a hunter and joins the family as a cook, or that should what he was supposed to be called, but all he ever did was just boil and serve tea, and also give some of his profound wisdom. Every year, he's been doing tests on strength since his strength seemed to keep increasing. Bond didn't know whether to promote him to something higher since S rank is the highest rank that could be attained if you are a hunter. National rank hasn't been invented yet since Kamish hasn't appeared yet. That's all that has happened during the years. While Kenji was brushing his teeth, he heard a moan on his bed and saw Kanae was just about to get up but stopped when she saw him. Kanae smiles and said, "Good morning, Ken-chan." Kenji just greeted her back before going back to the bathroom to finish brushing his teeth. Once done, Kenji felt someone sneaking up behind him, and when he knew who it was he just let her be. "Ken-chan. Are we gonna raid some dungeon today?" Kanae, surprised, hugged him from behind before asking him directly to his ear. "I don't know, but we'll visit my parents first," Kenji said while patting her head. It was just last year when his parents discovered his relationship that his parents asked him to live in a separate mansion with Kanae with their reason is, you're old enough already, you don't need us anymore. Until this day, he could still hear his mother's sob every night. That's why he's always visiting them every day since he felt bad for his mom. Besides, he could fly at sonic speeds, and reaching his original mansion could be done in a matter of seconds. The moment he learned how to fly, he's been doing it almost every day, not gonna lie, flying is like drugs to him. Oh, by the way, his father was invited to a meeting in America, California. Though he didn't know why California, he's gonna come with him as a bodyguard, and besides, he also wanted to visit America again. Underscore 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 underscore. What do you think is gonna happen in America, my dear readers? Give some stenez please. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters and if you want to support me. www. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters and if you want to support me. www. Patreon.com SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to a 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 20 comments 0 vote. Ch. 20. When are we leaving? Kenji asks while eating his dinner. He just arrived here earlier by flying with Kanae in his arms. Soon, Chikashi replied while drinking the tea that was served by Iroh, who was also sipping on his favorite jasmine tea beside him. By the way, Iroh, wanna come? Chikashi asks Iroh, who smiled warmly at him and replied, I think I'm gonna stay here in case something goes wrong, thank you for the offer though. Then went back to sipping on his tea. Nothing beats a jasmine tea in a day. Iroh satisfactorily said, which earned a nod from Chikashi. He's been calm these days since he starts drinking Iroh's tea. After finishing his dinner, Kenji called his manager if there is any more gates to clear. There is nothing as of today, Kenji-sama. His manager replied. I see, then just call me if there is any. I'm quite bored today. Kenji then hangs up. I'll be back, Kenji said to his dad before flying off at sonic speeds. Boom. Gusts of wind slammed Iroh and Chikashi while Chikashi mutters, was that really necessary? He then shook his head before reading a newspaper. Meanwhile, Kenji was flying up at high speeds until he finally reached space. Ever since he learned how to fly, he's been bathing close to the sun and this also feels like a drug to him. At first, he forgot to wear his Superman suit and just wears normal clothing, so that day he flew back home in his birthday suit. He doesn't know how it happens, but he could breathe in space as if breathing on Earth. Is it just me? Or has the government always lied to us? Was Neil Armstrong the first guy on the moon? Kenji muttered while spreading his arms so the sunlight could shower him more. How about we confirm it? Kenji grins and flew toward the moon. Soon he reached there and he could already feel the change in gravity compared to Earth. Well, at least the gravity one was true. He mutters and walked around the moon. I'll try to find that flag and footprint. Kenji grins and blasts out at sonic speeds. From the outside perspective, Kenji was so fast that he's just a blur, but in Kenji's perspective everything just slows down. I wonder where is it? Kenji mutters while looking around. It's been half an hour and he still can't find it, so Kenji just calls it a day and went home. On the Earth, a kid who was licking an ice cream suddenly saw a shooting star passing. Shooting star. The kid yelled in excitement before stating his wish. I wish mama could give me more ice creams. The kid said in sadness. Unknown to him, the shooting star suddenly changed directions and charged toward him. The shooting star suddenly collided on the ground near him, making him close his eyes due to sudden outbursts of the wind. What ice cream do you want? The figure was suddenly revealed to be Kenji, who was patting his cloth. It's you. The one on TV. The kid suddenly says while smiling, showing his incomplete teeth. You know me. I mean, I know I'm famous. Kenji scratched the back of his head. The strongest S-rank hunter, right? The kid said while getting closer to Kenji. Strongest? Since when did that happen? Kenji confusedly said. I don't know, my classmates just said that you're the strongest and that they wanted to be like you because unlike other hunters you are also a hero because you're also fighting criminals. The kid excitedly said while already clutching his cloth. Ah, I see. It was that time, huh? Kenji suddenly remembers when he saw someone being mugged on the streets and he came to save the day. Since then, he's been going out around saving people in his free time. To be honest, he doesn't know the reason for this thing, he just suddenly had the urge to save people. Must be a Superman thingy, Kenji mutters before paying his attention back to the kid who was looking at him expectantly. What's your name? And where's your mom, kid? Kenji crouched and asked the kid. Hearing Kenji's question, the kid bows his head down while tears escaped from his eyes. Whoa, kid, why did you suddenly cry? Kenji was a bit shocked and asked the kid. I don't wanna go home. Papa's always hurting me. The kid suddenly said while wiping his eyes due to his tears. What do you mean by that? Kenji said with a bit of coldness. If there is something he hates, then that is hurting an innocent kid. In this world, children will always be the most innocent in the world since they haven't been tainted yet by bad influence. Are evil people born evil or made? If this question is asked to him, then his answer will be made. Everyone starts as an innocent, while our destiny at such a young age is carved by those people around us. No one is born evil, they are made. They say that our choices are what make us either a bad or good person. But to him, that is wrong. We make our choices based on what our mindset is, and our mindset is influenced by the people that have been around us since we're young. So it is not wrong to say that the parents will always be blamed for whatever their son, daughter do since they are the one who stays the longest. Every day, whenever Papa comes home drunk, he will always hit me and Mommy. The kid says while looking down. Where's your home, kid? Kenji coldly asks. Why? Mama said to not trust strangers. The kid told him. Kenji warmly smiles at this, it seems like his mother is a decent one. He then replied, am I a stranger to you? No. You're my hero. The kid excitedly replied before holding his hand and continuing. Come. I'll take you to my home. The kid dragged Kenji until they reached a dilapidated house that is almost on the verge of collapsing. Mama. I'm back. Look at who I've brought. He said he'll save us from Papa. The kid excitedly said while reaching a room, and Kenji saw a woman with countless bruises on her body while her forehead is bleeding. Mama. The kid stopped in his tracks and fearfully said. Mama. The kid suddenly runs and touched his mother while trying to wake her up. Mama. Wake up. The kid said while tears were slowly forming in his eyes. Don't leave me. The kid cannot stop his tears anymore and cried. Kid, I'll take your mother to a hospital, come with me. Kenji suddenly has flashbacks of what he is seeing. He suddenly remembers when his mother died alone on her bed while his father is in the war. He just got home that day to tell his mother that he joined the army, but he didn't even manage to say goodbye. He cried that night. Even when he is older, he'll always think about how his mother died in pain, not because she died but because she died without her family near her. He could imagine how hurt his mother must have been. He was also hurt that day, and he doesn't want this kid to experience the same. So he carefully carried the kid's mother before saying, you'll be alright. Kid, grab me. The kid did as he was told and climbed on his back and hugged his neck. Kenji then jumped through the window and flew off at high speeds. Underscore. I know this feels unnecessary, but this is for his character development. By the way, the kid is just an OC. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters, and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to a 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. Ch. 21. Asahi Guild wins. Underscore. Soon, Kenji arrived at the hospital and handed the mother to the nurses and doctors. After arriving here, flashes of cameras has been flashing continuously, which annoys him, so he just grabbed the kid and walked to a corner. The kid just kept crying on the way here, which irritates him a bit, but he still endures. After walking to the corner, Kenji turns around and crouched, facing the kid, and then said, don't worry kid, she'll be alright. She's in good hands now. The kid stopped crying and asked him, really? Kenji just smiles and nodded. By the way, what's your name? Kenji asked him while patting his head. Haru. When Haru was about to introduce himself, an angry voice was heard through the hallways. Kenji frowns and looked at the obese man who was sweating heavily while wearing a white coat that is usually worn by doctors. Is that his father? So his father is a doctor, but their home earlier was dilapidated. As far as I know, doctor has a high-paying salary. Kenji mused before seeing the man raising his hand and was about to slap Haru. Kenji immediately steps in and held the man's hand and said, "Mister, you can't just slap a kid who can't even defend himself." The man's anger exploded and yelled, "I'm his father. I have the right to educate my own child. Get out of the way." The man tried to push Kenji, but Kenji doesn't budge even an inch. Has my fame not famous enough for this man to not know me? Kenji mused in his mind while chuckling at the man's attempts to push him. The man heard his chuckle and it didn't end up well. "Do you not know who I am?" The man started making a fuss like a young master. "No. You." The man can't take it anymore and was about to end his fucking life when he was about to slap Kenji. But lucky for him, Haru stepped in and hugged his father's thigh while crying, "Otu-san. Please stop. You stupid kid. You're lucky I'm your father. Many ladies back in the day has to line up just to ask me for a date. You and your mother are lucky that I chose her." The father started rambling like an idiot, attracting unwanted attention from the surroundings. Haru kept crying while hugging his father's thigh, making his father shake his leg to get him off. Anata. Haru. They heard a female hoarse voice. They all turned their heads to the source and saw the mother was standing there with a pale face while using the walls as a support to stand. Keika-san. Haru lets go of the father's thighs and run toward his mother and hugs her thighs. Haru. The mother hugged him back while trying to hold her tears in order to not show her weakness in front of her child. "HMPF, you're finally awake." The father haughtily said while crossing his arms. "Why you shao?" The mother scaredly said while pushing her son behind her to protect him in case he did something. All this time, she didn't even notice Kenji standing just beside her. He's Chinese. No wonder Haru looks a bit Chinese, and seeing that his father is a doctor is not shocking anymore, since I heard that many Chinese parents want their children to be successful doctors. Kenji mused in his mind. Do you know how much trouble you're gonna cause me by going to the hospital, Mari? The father, who was identified as Yu Xiao, angrily said, making Mari flinch in fear. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Mari tried to apologize, but suddenly a hand patted her shoulder, making her look behind her in shock. You don't need to apologize to someone like him, ma'am, Kenji told her while coldly staring at Yu Xiao, who shivers in fear. Why you are? Mari said in shock while staring at Kenji, seemingly recognizing him. To people like him, we should show no mercy. Kenji slowly walked towards Yu Xiao, who was backing away in fear. Why you, step back. Yu Xiao warns while grabbing a nearby scalpel and using it to threaten him. Kenji kept walking toward him while he backs away until they were outside the hospital and a crowd formed around them. Seeing that Kenji is not stopping and he can't step back anymore, Yu Xiao decided to commit a crime right here and now. He stopped stepping back and runs toward Kenji while using both of his hands to stab Kenji in his chest, mainly where his heart resides. Ting. Yu Xiao can't believe what he is seeing. He saw the scalpel bending on its side while Kenji's clothing doesn't even have a scratch. Hunter. That's the only thing that runs on Yu Xiao's mind. Only a hunter could block a scalpel unscratched. Are you done? Kenji asks in disappointment. Well, what did he expect? Yu Xiao immediately kneeled on the ground and begged for his life. Daddy. No, Grandpa. Please spare this pitiful dog. Kenji raised his eyebrows at his state. Tell me, why did you abuse them? Kenji was a bit curious, so he asks. Yu Xiao hesitates for a bit, but then, remembering that he's walking on a thin line of life or death, he decided to tell the truth. It's because she gave birth to a male kid. I promised someone that I'll marry my child to his child to make connections, but my child turns out to be a boy while it is also the same to him, so he breaks our contract since I can't fulfill the deal. Yu Xiao explained. So you're trying to sell your child to some connections? Kenji was a bit shocked, but not shocked enough, since he knew that almost every rich family is using this style to expand their connections. You should have used Nero Hikari for a stronger connection. Kenji shakes his head and grabs Yu Xiao's collar before continuing. Here, I'll bring you to a strong connection. He then used his strength to throw Yu Xiao up in the air. That were Yu Xiao's last words before he was thrown up into space until he disappeared on the horizon. Everybody who was watching the scandal was shocked by Kenji's strength and what he had just done. This will surely take over the breaking news in the front page tomorrow. Underscore 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 underscore. I repeat, I know this feels unnecessary, but this is for his character development. By the way, the kid is just an OC. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters, and if you want to support me, www. Patreon.com SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to A. 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 11 comments 0 vote. Ch. 22. After throwing the man into the space, Kenji's phone rings in his pocket. Ring ring ring. Kenji took out his phone and answered, Kenji speaking. Ah. Kenji, where are you? I'm about to meet the American president. His father Chikashi was the one who answered back. President. You didn't tell me we're gonna meet the president. Kenji confusedly asks. Ah, I think I just forgot to tell you. Anyway, hurry up, the president's waiting. Chikashi informed him before hanging up. Kenji put his phone back in his pocket before walking inside the hospital. He saw Haru smiling and chatting with Mari, who just quietly listens to him. When he went inside, Haru was the first to notice him. Ah. It's Superman. Haru pointed to him, which makes Mari also notice him. Mari stands up and tried to bow to him. Thank you, but Kenji stops her and said, please, no need to bow. I just did what others would also do when someone saw you in that state. Mari heard him and tears slowly escaped her eyes. Still, please let me thank you. She slightly bows, but since she insists, he just stayed still. Anyway, would you like a ride back to your home? I'll just fly you over. Kenji offers them, which was rejected immediately by Mari. Please. You've done enough for us. Mari rejected while shaking her head. I see. Anyway, I need to go, if you need help just call me. Kenji then handed her his card before walking away. Kenji still heard her mutter a, thank you again. Before flying at sonic speeds. Kenji's direction is America. So he flew there for a few seconds before hearing a beeping sound. While up in the air, Kenji looked behind him and saw a projectile following him while beeping. On his side, a jet plane emerged while Kenji heard the pilot speaking through the speakers. Unidentified flying person, I'll warn you, you are trespassing America without legal means. We are warning you to stop what you are doing. The pilot warns him through the speaker. What? Wait a second. Kenji talked back before taking out his phone. Hold. Put your hands in the air. Drop whatever you are holding. The pilot immediately warns him while Kenji could see that the pilot is already locked into him. It's just my phone. Kenji shouted. He's not mad, he knew that the pilot was just doing his job. The pilot doesn't speak anymore but still follows him. He must be talking to his superiors. Have they already recognized me? Kenji mused in his mind while calling his father. Son. Did I hear that you just trespassed by flying? I already told the president and they're currently working on it. Chikashi answered and spoke. Yeah, I can see that, Kenji replied while looking at the jet plane that just quietly flew away. Soon enough, Kenji arrived at the White House and was immediately met by the president himself along with a muscular man who Kenji knew very well, some hunters, a few politicians, and finally his father. I knew my suspicions were right. After all, father is just a senator, how could he have the privilege to schedule a meeting with the U.S. president? Kenji mused to himself. He first greeted his father and then the president before greeting the rest. Why do you even need me here? Kenji whispered to Chikashi. Well, you'll be my guard during our stay here, Chikashi replied to him while they were walking back to the White House. Kenji nodded, he didn't mind it, after all, he is his father, and protecting him is part of his job as a son. After a few agonizing hours of politics, by the way, he was included in the meeting which he didn't know why. After the meeting, his father was chatting with the president while Kenji was on the corner watching everyone in the room. You must be Kenji. Kenji then heard a man's voice speaking English. Yes, and you are. Kenji replied with a fluent accent, shocking the man a bit. Oh, please forgive my manners, my name is Thomas Andre. Thomas then offered his hand to him. Kenji accepted it with no problem while introducing himself. Nice to meet you, Andre-san, my name is Akano Kenji. Kenji smiles at the strength of Thomas when he gripped his hand. Thomas smiled back before speaking, how about I introduce you to a few of my guild mates? Kenji nodded and accepted his offer. Soon they left the room and reached another room where Kenji could see a few hunters talking to each other. Everyone, this is Kenji, introduce yourselves. Thomas introduced him before leaving while his guild mates introduced themselves to him. Soon Thomas came back holding a bottle of wine. This is a Romane Conti wine, let's have a drink. Soon Thomas poured him a glass of wine and offered it to him. Kenji drank it without hesitation, even if it has anything poisonous. Kenji knew that his body is immune to all kinds of poison or drugs. 5 minutes have passed chatting with Thomas about a few things like gates, monsters or their culture, likes, and hobbies. Thomas may look like a mafia boss on the outside, but Kenji discovered that Thomas has a soft spot for plants and flowers. No wonder he's wearing a shirt and pants full of flowers. Kenji thought to himself. While they were chatting, the whole room suddenly lit in red while alarms were ringing around the White House. Thomas and the rest suddenly stood up and run off. Thomas stayed for a bit and said to Kenji, "Something must have happened, it's probably a dungeon outbreak." Then he continued, "Follow me." Kenji nodded and followed him outside where he can see hunters preparing their gear. Out of all the places in the world, why are they preparing in the White House? Kenji confusedly asked himself. Kenji. Come, a dungeon outbreak has appeared near here. Chikashi called out to him. Kenji nodded and was about to reach out to him when suddenly, an explosion occurred in the White House alerting everyone. Roar rrr. They heard a loud roar and everyone, even his father, Chikashi, froze in fear. Kenji noticed that he and Thomas were the only ones that is not affected, so they decided to rush outside to take a look at the situation. When both of them were finally outside, they saw fires everywhere, destroyed buildings, and finally, a huge red-scaled dragon decimating everything on its path. A dragon. Kenji said to himself while staring at the dragon who was spitting fires everywhere. Kenji could even see some hunters trying to stop the dragon, but all of them were burned to a crisp. Let's go, Thomas said to him while removing his sunglass with a serious look on his face. Yeah, let's stop it. Kenji grins and agreed. Underscore 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 underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters, and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com/SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to A. 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 10 comments 0 vote. Pissed. Download the app for additional rewards. More events, more perks. Winning you more free perks. Download now. 23. Third POV. We can't stop it. One of the S-rank hunters who came to stop the raging dragon yelled in fear. They've lost 5 S-rank hunters, 7 A-rank, and 17 B-rank hunters from the monstrous dragon. This is the end. A hunter trembled in fear while his grip on his staff loses strength, making his staff fall to the ground. Clack clack X25. Soon others followed and they lost hope of defeating this monster when suddenly, they heard a sonic sound coming their way. Boom. The dragon, that was causing fear and destruction everywhere, was flung by the sonic sound. Boom. The dragon flew back while damaging some buildings before touching the ground. Who was it? A hunter woke up from shock and stuttered while staring at the figure surrounded by thick smoke. Soon the smoke dispersed and reveals Kenji in his full glory while steam was coming out of his fist. That's Akano Kenji from Japan. One of the hunters immediately recognized him and shouted his identity. Kenji. The strongest hunter of Asia. A hunter also recognized him. Superman, also known as Akano Kenji, was Asia's strongest hunter not because he defeated Lu Zigang, the former strongest hunter of Asia, but because the title was given to him due to being the first hunter to clear an A-ranked dungeon alone and having the most A-ranked dungeons cleared during his career as a hunter. The name, Superman, was given to him due to doing something that other hunters didn't, and that is fighting criminals and saving people. He was admired by kids, teens, adults, and the elderly. Many people wanted to be like him, and he was an inspiration to everyone. Everyone, retreat. Kenji shouted at them. He knew that they can't defeat the dragon. He felt it when he punched. It was as if he just punched wood without Superman's powers. The hunters listened to him obediently. This is not the time to be angry at being ordered at. Once he saw that they were retreating, Kenji turns around just in time to see the dragon standing up with red menacing eyes. Ready for more. Kenji grins while cracking his knuckles, which caused loud sounds. Grr. Raw. The dragon growled in anger and released a sea of red flames with his mouth. Kenji smirks at this and inhales huge amounts of oxygen till his lungs are filled up. Fu, using his freeze breath, the sea of flames was immediately extinguished while the floor was frozen. The dragon was also hit by the freeze breath and felt a chill on his body, but it immediately melted due to his high temperature body. Ruer. The dragon roared in anger, seeing that the filthy human managed to repel his flames. Come on, show me what you've got. Kenji grins while posing in a boxing stance. The dragon seemed to understand the human's challenge and directly flew high in the skies. Huh, so you want an aerial battle? I'm fine with that. Kenji said, then levitated from the ground. Slowly, Kenji rose in the air until he reached 20,000 feet up in the air. Kenji could feel the airwaves hitting the both of them, while they stared at each other as if measuring their strengths. Kenji decided to attack first by rushing at sonic speeds and punching the dragon in its face. The dragon failed to dodge in time, making Kenji's fist hit him on his face, throwing him a few meters away. Boom. Due to how strong Kenji's punch is, it even produced explosive sounds. Raw. The dragon used its special skill, Dragon's Fear. Dragon's Fear allows its user to release a mana-infused shout from their soul, driving anyone weaker than them into a state of intense despair and panic. But to Kenji, who was unaffected, it's just like a baby's cry. Making the dragon annoyed. I commend you for your will and strength, human. What is your name? The dragon, for the first time, spoke in monster language. Thank you for the compliment, and shouldn't you introduce yourself first? Kenji replied in the same monster language. At first he tried to learn the language by speaking with monsters whenever he do raids, but it seems to be impossible, and whenever he want to talk to a monster, the monster language just came naturally to him. You're really a weird human, you could also speak our language that no human shall possess. Fine, I'll introduce myself first, hear me out, human. The dragon started to puff up his chest and continued, less than my name is Kamish. I see, then my name is Akano Kenji. It was Kenji's turn to introduce himself, and so he did. I see, your name is Akano Kenji, very well, I shall remember this name deep in my soul and shall remember it even if I die. Kamish proudly yelled before continuing, less than then let us continue our battle. Kamish suddenly flapped his wings, which caused huge amounts of airwaves, and appeared in front of Kenji's vision. With Kamish's mouth open, ready to bite Kenji to death. Kenji wasn't even scared a bit, he just let Kamish close his mouth once he is inside. However, suddenly, Kamish seemed to notice that he can't close his mouth. That was when he noticed that Kenji, who was inside, was using both of his hands to hold his palate while his feet are on his tongue. Kamish scoffed at this attempt and decided to release flames from his mouth. Kenji noticed that Kamish's tongue was getting redder and hotter. It was then he noticed that Kamish was actually releasing flames. But Kenji didn't care, so he let the flames engulf him inside Kamish's mouth. At first, Kamish thought that he won by turning Kenji into a crisp, when suddenly he heard him say, "That's kinda hot." Kenji chuckled, then stomped his feet strong enough to break Kamish's jaw. Kamish doesn't have the time to be shocked when he suddenly felt pain in his jaw. Kenji then flew outside of his mouth and stared at Kamish, roaring in pain. It hurts, isn't it? Kenji told him. He also felt that pain. It was that time during the war that he tripped in the middle of war while his jaw was crushed because his jaw fell on a rock. His tongue and teeth bled furiously that day. Sigh. Good old days. Kenji sighed while reminiscing his past, forgetting the dragon who was glaring daggers at him. Underscore 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 underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters, and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com/SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to A. 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 14 comments 0 vote. Ch. 24. What's the status? A general asks while staring at the night sky. Sir, from our observations, Superman is fighting against the monster up in the sky. A soldier reported on his side. I see. Do you think we could provide any support? The general solemnly asks. As for right now, we cannot, sir. They should be fighting at least 30,000 feet up in the sky, and we currently have no hunter who could fly that high. The soldier replied. I see, then the least we can do is evacuate everyone around the vicinity. Make sure you prioritize the safety of civilians first. The general ordered before leaving with a sigh. He's already 70 years old. He missed the day when the only threat in the world are guns, but ever since the gate appeared, guns and bombs have been rendered useless. Sir, yes, sir. The soldier saluted and left to do what he was ordered. While Kenji was fighting Kamish, Thomas just arrived in the place of destruction and saw many soldiers evacuating and rescuing civilians. Suddenly, Thomas felt explosions up in the air, which caused him to look in the sky just in time to see the silhouettes of Kenji and Kamish fighting with each other. The sky. Thomas muttered and threw the cigarette that he was holding. Reinforcement, Thomas muttered, and he was then covered in good shining armor from head to toe. Ruler's Authority. He then used one of his skills called Ruler's Authority, which allows him telekinetically move objects with his mind. He used the skill on himself and levitated toward Kenji and Kamish. The other soldiers also saw this and were excited on seeing the S-rank hunter in action. It's they haven't seen hunters fight, it's just that S-rank hunters rarely move. Soon, with Ruler's Authority, Thomas reached them just in time to see Kenji punching Kamish's face. Boom. I'm amazed, Thomas said with a shocked face, letting his presence known. Kamish looked at him and was shocked on feeling a familiar aura on this human and the skill he is using. I didn't expect I'd see a ruler's vessel this early. Kamish spoke in monster language. Thomas just kept quiet and didn't say anything and directly attacked. Kamish, seeing Thomas's offense, decided to defend himself by swinging his tail towards Thomas. Thomas, seeing this, crossed his arms to defend himself. Boom. Due to Kamish's superior strength, Thomas was thrown away like a bug, but he managed to stop himself in time using Ruler's Authority. His forearms are bleeding, and his bones are shattered, but in no time, he slowly healed. On the sidelines, Kenji huffed. He didn't want to be a bystander, so he decided to attack Kamish with his laser eyes. Meanwhile, Kamish felt something hot penetrating his scales, directly hitting his flesh. Greya. Kamish moaned in pain and looked behind him and saw Kenji with glowing dark red eyes. Kenji continued his assault and released hot beams again towards Kamish's body. Sizzle. Due to the intensity of Kenji's hot beams, Kamish's flesh was almost cooked, which smelled like bacon. Smells bacon greater than, Kenji spoke in monster language and grins. Kamish felt insulted and ignored Thomas and spew a sea of flames toward Kenji. That won't work. Kenji reminded him and just let the sea of fire engulf him again. Kamish knew that this isn't enough to injure Kenji, so after spewing flame from his mouth, he directly dashed toward Kenji and was about to slash him with his claws when suddenly, he felt as if someone was pulling him away. He turns around and saw Thomas with glowing orange eyes with his hands forward, using Ruler's Authority, capture to pull Kamish to him. Kamish was helpless and was pulled by him. Once Kamish was close to him, Thomas closed his fist and punched Kamish on his forehead. Boom. Kamish felt a little bit dizzy and roared in anger but was cut off when Kenji held his tail behind. No. Not my tail. Kamish sweated and yelled at Kenji. But Kenji didn't care about him and spun him around, forming wind blasts everywhere. Yug. Yug. Yug *X100. Once Kenji noticed that he is spinning fast enough, he let go of his tail, throwing Kamish away from them. Meanwhile, Kenji immediately chased after him, leaving Thomas behind. Meanwhile, Kamish, who already has spinning eyes and a foaming mouth due to dizziness, was already regretting letting himself be controlled by the rulers. The truth is, he didn't even want to be here, but the rulers controlled him and ordered him to cause destruction here. But while he was fighting earlier with Kenji, he felt something familiar within him, but he didn't know what it is. One thing for sure is that Kenji was a bit abnormal, especially that strength of his. Yo! Kamish suddenly heard a voice on his side. He turned his head to his side and saw his greatest nightmare. Kamish immediately used his wings to stop himself in his tracks. Kenji also stopped and looked at Kamish, who was staring back at him. You're very strong, Kenji. If only I wasn't controlled by them, then maybe we could have been friends. But let us end this now. Kamish spoke to him for the last time before attacking Kenji. Kenji also didn't say anything, he would also like to end this right now, he's quite hungry from all this fight. Kamish was already in front of him, with his jaw wide open, ready to bite him off. Meanwhile, Kenji just backed away and grabbed one of Kamish's horns. Then he pulled him towards him and kneed his forehead with enough force to decimate a city. Ever since he became Superman, he has been holding back a lot in order to not hurt everyone close to him. Kamish felt a strong painful force traveling from his head to his tail, destroying every flesh of his, while shaking his organs. Greya, Kamish was about to yell in pain when he suddenly felt someone just punch his jaw, forcing his mouth to shut in pain. From the outside perspective, one can see a dragon with his head jerked upward in the air due to Kenji's strong punch. Then Kenji's eyes glowed in red and hot beams of laser flew from his eyes and penetrated Kamish's weakened body. Kamish felt pain all over his body like never before, and when he was about to retaliate despite the pain, he saw Kenji appearing in front of his vision, with his fist closed and ready to punch him. I'm finally free too. When he was about to finish his last words, Kenji's fist finally reached his head. Boom. Due to the intensity of Kenji's punch, intense airwaves were wreaking havoc in the surroundings. Sorry, what were you saying? Kenji once again missed what was his enemy's last words. Underscore 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 underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to a 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters. 19 comments 0 vote. Ch. 25. Once Kenji was sure that the dragon was dead, he went and carried Kamish from his tail and flew back. Once he arrived, Kenji could see countless hunters helping and patrolling around the area with serious looks on their faces. Suddenly, their faces lose color when they saw that Kamish was back, and when they were about to get ready when someone pointed out to Kenji and they saw that he was carrying Kamish from his tail. They all sighed in relief that they won't have to fight once again. This day has been a huge loss to them, not only because of the civilian casualties and property damage but also because they lost tens of S-rank hunters this day. Right on this day, Kamish will be declared as humanity's greatest calamity. When Kenji went down and gently lay Kamish's body on the ground, he went and meet his father who immediately used his ability to heal Kenji. Dad, I'm fine. Kenji just casually said while flexing his biceps. I don't care, if your mother finds out that you have even a slight injury, I'll sleep on the couch again tonight. Chikashi told him while healing him with a very serious look, making Kenji chuckle. Soon, Thomas along with the U.S. president came to him to give their thanks for saving the U.S. Kenji just casually accepted their gratitude but the U.S. president said something that piques his interest. From the reports I've heard, that monster was the first monster to kill tens of S ranks since the gate surfaced. The president said while gazing his eyes upon the ruins that were caused by Kamish. And I also saw that you were the only one who could contend with that monster with ease, and that is why I'm thinking of a new hunter rank. Something higher than S rank. The president mumbled while thinking about the new rank that he'll introduce. I think, I'll call it national rank. The president clapped and told them before continuing. Tomorrow morning, I'll have a meeting with other leaders and we'll talk about this matter if you would please attend the meeting tomorrow. Or are you perhaps busy? The president asks Kenji with, please tell me you're not busy, evidently plastered on his face. Kenji who just heard the president turns to look at his father. He's only here as his father's bodyguard. Chikashi saw his look and nodded, there's no harm to it anyway, in fact, it also has many benefits to it. Kenji nodded back at him and turns to the president and nodded again, making the president smile in happiness. Kenji then turns to Thomas who was grinning, you're very strong, much stronger than me. He then presents his hand forward, looking for a shake. Kenji nodded, the same can be said to you, no normal hunters could take that attack. Thomas's grin widened when he heard Kenji. Then, I'll see you tomorrow, Thomas said his farewell and placed his hands in his pocket, and left along with the president. Kenji just stares at him leave and also left the place, followed by his father. Back to Thomas, he was having a chat with the president, I just heard what he said, do you also manage to contend with the monster? The president asks him, making Thomas chuckle. Well, I managed to hold my ground against it, Thomas told him, making the president fall into deep thinking and finally open his mouth. Do you also want to be promoted to national rank? The president asks him making Thomas stop in his tracks. Of course I want, who could refuse such an enticing offer? Thomas smiled and said before resuming his walk. However, suddenly he heard a very familiar voice, Oya. Is the battle finished already? But I just arrived here. Thomas looked at the source and saw a very familiar face, wearing Chinese armor and a beautifully carved spear. You're late. Superman went and finished it. Thomas said to the former strongest hunter of Asia. Him again. That's bad, I also want to fight a strong monster, you know. Lu Zigang, the former strongest of Asia playfully said while resting his spear on his shoulder. Soon, they also heard footsteps and saw another familiar face, what happened? Where's the monster? Christopher Reed, another hunter of America. It's already dead, both of you are late, Thomas informed him. Who was it? Chris asks confusedly. It was the hunter in Japan, Superman. Thomas told him and continued, anyway, I'll leave the both of you, I have a few matters to take care of. He then walked away leaving the two hunters. Chris then turns at Lu who smiles and waves at him, making Chris turn his head by the side, HMPH. Then also walked away. Since the fight is already done, he has no purpose staying here. Lou is still playfully waving at him, and once he is done, he mutters, Superman, huh. He then smiles and also left the scene. Back to Kenji, he's currently in the bathroom, staring at himself in the mirror. He felt that there is much more than hunters and monsters in this world, he can't help but feel as if someone is watching him. Rulers. Kenji mutters, ever since he heard his father talking about rulers, he has been curious ever since. It was a few years back, he was training his hearing when he heard his father talk about rulers. He felt really familiar when he heard the word rulers, and he tried searching in Google about the rulers, and all he got was the actual ruler that is used as a measuring. This time, he's planning on facing his father about this since he felt that Kamish was somehow related to the rulers. After he brushed his teeth and take a bath, he went outside and saw his father on the table typing on his laptop. Dad, can we talk? Kenji asks him. Chikashi stared at him for a second and nodded, of course, let's talk in the living room. He stands and closed the laptop before walking toward the living room. Kenji also followed him, and once they are in the living room, they both sat on the couch facing each other while Chikashi asks, so, what do you want to talk about? Kenji didn't hesitate and said, what is a ruler? Kenji stares at his father's shocked face when he heard what he just said. Sigh. I knew I can't hide it from you for a long time. Chikashi sighed and finally decided to tell his son the truth. Underscore 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 underscore. Please visit my Patreon to read 5 advanced chapters, and if you want to support me. www.patreon.com SlimeSage. Don't forget to change it to A. 500 Power Stones 1 bonus chapter. 1000 Power Stones 2 bonus chapters.